welcome to a E3 special Gamestacular edition of
Gaytacular edition.
Gaytacular E3 2018. Let's go. You know what's fucking amazing is that E3 is now officially in Pride Month every fucking year. So E3 has to be gay now every year.
Yeah, and they've kept their promise thus far.
Yeah. Yeah, E3 is pride culture. Okay, yeah, we're doing a big kind of E3 discussion and breakdown. I think the kind of format we're going to go with is we're just kind of going to like fire off games and talk about them rather than going through like every single game shown at every single conference. I think we'll kind of go over the conferences. We could probably start by just saying what we thought of the conferences, but that's probably not going to take up
no structure here, no plan. We're just going to talk about the good stuff. We don't waste your time with any of the bullshit.
Bonus, non-episode bonus content on this channel has set a precedent that must be followed. Let's get started. I think the first conference was
EA? Yes, the EA conference.
I didn't watch.
Which was bad. It wasn't great. Literally, the only thing that I actually cared about, I think, at the whole EA conference was the mobile game.
Yeah.
I mean, there was Battlefield there.
I cared about lesbians. It wasn't actually a good trailer, but I just cared that Battlefield might have lesbians, and that's good enough.
Yeah, I believe the...
Why settle for might when we got two definites from E3?
Okay, no, I'm not settling. Okay, first of all, this was the first
we were
event,
already
so I didn't know that.
It's true. Yeah.
Like, Zeri and I had... Because Zeri's a big Battlefield player from a few years ago. So we've like gotten back into it just as a thing to do together. And so like we were going to buy the new Battlefield regardless, just to play with each other. And then it ended up possibly having lesbians. It's like the most serendipitous
good
stuff
timing.
ever.
They knew
I do want to say it's good that Battlefield trailer went first, because if it had followed the Last of Us trailer with that weak ass maybe gay,
it would have felt
it's a
weak.
good thing.
It was well sequenced. We had
that's why the EA conference went first. They knew that gay was weak, so they had to go first.
Beyond just like my interest in lesbians inherently, it is cool to like have like a mainstream FPS showing like war stories that aren't like the generic like D-Day,
save your brother,
Western
D-Day,
soldier,
Normandy,
story,
Stalingrad,
like different. Like
Norwegian, from what I've seen,
like Rebellion is way different.
The approach to Battlefield 1, with its single player, was relatively well received. Just a series of fairly short, tight, individual, personal narratives against the backdrop of its World War I setting. So we've really only seen the one story here, so it might be more singularly focused. They said they'll like be dropping story content sort of throughout the ensuing months, but
it seems like the concept of the game is like the war, as the war goes on, so like Japan will enter like halfway through the game's like main development lifespan or something, and like which is kind of cool actually. But for the overall EA conference, it was dull, as sort of EA conferences are almost inherently, just because a lot of gamers don't care about the EA Sports stuff, which will always get play. And the big story out of it is there is a lot of anger at the amount of focus mobile games got, like even beyond the anger with the Command and Conquer franchise being taken, down to the level of just being a mobile game. They just... Gamers don't like mobile games for a number of reasons in a general sense. And so the fact that
gamers are shit.
So much screen time was given to mobile games in my E3 conference upset a lot of people. But honestly, the Command and Conquer segment was one of the most...
it was the best thing they had.
It was one of the strongest pulses during the whole conference. It was that.
Yeah, the other thing I really liked was the really sweet, really nervous Sea of Solitude dev.
Oh right, I forgot about the EA indies. Yeah, those were great. Unravel was decent. Yeah, it was not actively boring, but it didn't like stand out. And then the Sea of Solitude dev was really, really cool, and I liked the game she showed off.
Yeah, I've actually found like a breakdown of what's at the conferences. We might just do that, like go through the conferences and just talk about them. It is actually an easier way to make sure we don't miss stuff.
Yeah,
no, good idea.
So there was some Battlefront 2 stuff we probably don't care about.
No.
There was
just like
the
promising
Respawn Star Wars game, Jedi Fallen Order,
that's right.
which was announced but not shown.
Yeah,
which,
that was really
could be
funny
interesting
to me, because they brought out, or didn't bring out, he was just sitting in the audience, they brought the mic to him, Vincem Pella, who's one of the heads of Respawn. He was one of the guys who developed Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare, and Call of Duty World War II, and had his famous, very contentious split, left Infinity Ward with a decent amount of the Infinity Ward team, and went off to go found Respawn. And he looked like either somewhat nervous or just like broken and sad, and I didn't want to necessarily ascribe one or the other, but either he was just uncomfortable in front of the mic, or this person who was like one of gaming's leading creatives is very depressed at like now being tasked with just producing an EA licensed game with all of, like, the monetization that's going to be inevitably forced into it, with like the relative failure, at least middling success, of his own brainchild IP, Titanfall. It was just a sad sight to see him brought
Titanfall
like
got
that.
done dirty. It should have it really should have been should have done better, I think, especially Titanfall 2. I heard so much good stuff about
Confined to console exclusivity on a dead console that was garbage, especially early on in the life cycle. Like, Xbox has recovered, but back then it was hell to be in that
constrained to that. Yeah.
And then with the release date fuckery that everyone is pretty well familiar with, I think, with Titanfall 2, he never really got a chance, and now he's sort of serving the masters here. And then again, I could be reading into things, but that was the vibe I got.
I would actually be very interested to see what Respawn had to say about the last time the Star Wars series had a first-person shooter. It was one of the best Star Wars games ever made, Republic Commando.
Ignoring Battlefront,
so you're not counting Battlefront. And Battlefront 2 is
Battlefront's
first-person shooters.
They're not first-person, they're third-person.
No, the new ones are. The new ones are first-person.
Yeah,
but
I think the new ones are primarily first-person, actually.
I'm definitely coming from this from more of a single-player focus. Though.
Okay, no.
I get you. I do get you.
A first-person,
they're not on my radar. I don't even think of them as part of the Star Wars lineup of games, just because they're so Call of Duty Battlefield-y. They feel more like multiplayer things, you know. But no, I would be really interested.
Yeah, no, I'm very.
For real, if they would have said like, "Yo, we're making Republic Commando," like, don't even have to call it 2, just call it Republic Commando. Just be like, "Yeah, let's go."
After they canceled the other like single player Star Wars project, because no one wants a single player Star Wars project. Now they've
Republic
got
Commando, I think, is pretty beloved
on a single player.
No one wants a single player Star Wars project. Who would ever want a single player?
They had one in development alongside Battlefront and like canceled it.
Single player games are dead, guys.
But yeah, I mean, maybe he Star Wars is cool and lots of people like it, so maybe he's actually excited to be working on Star Wars. I'm certainly excited to see what he does with it. But yeah, outside of that, not much EA conference news.
No, we can't forget the focus of the EA conference, which was Anthem.
Which that's
isn't
news.
Grabbing me.
Does that count as news?
It's not grabbing me. I think it's such a misstep. But then again, like, what even is BioWare at this point, right?
Yeah.
Like, what even are they as a developer? They've just lost everything.
I mean, this is skipping ahead a bit, but like, Assassin's Creed is more of a BioWare game this time than BioWare's game.
Yeah, no kidding.
Anthem seems really fuzzy, and like there's not a clear selling point.
the selling point for me is that flying stuff. That looks
indistinct. Cool. Yeah, like the suits are cool, and that's like sort of it. But like I feel like Destiny, a game to which it draws obvious and numerous comparisons, had not just like a stronger amount of hype, but like a more sort of concrete, fully pictured amount of hype. Like people understood what they were being promised, even if the game turned out to not deliver on those promises, but like people knew what they were being promised. And I don't know if Anthem really has as much of that promise in that same manner. It's just like fly around in mech suits, some vague gesturing towards a story because BioWare does stories. Like, it will be there, it'll be good.
I mean, Destiny's got story.
Yeah.
Like, even outside of the meme of the Grimoire cards in Destiny 1, Destiny 2 has a lot of story and some really cool campaign stuff in it. There's one mission right at the end of Destiny 2 where you're running along the outside of a space station that's really close to the sun, and you literally have to take cover behind like protruding sheets of metal from the exterior because the sun is cooking you, and it looks fucking amazing. So yeah, I mean, there's room for like a really cool kind of story aspect in one of those games.
It's just,
it's just like, this is the studio that just put out fucking Mass Effect Andromeda.
I mean, I think it's technically like a different BioWare. Like, there's like one's like BioWare Montreal, the other one's like actual BioWare. But like, yeah, it's,
I guess, but still,
no, definitely, and like, it's not close to being done, is it? Like, it doesn't. They would have shown off more.
I think that's the worrying thing. It's like slated for 2019.
Yeah, but like they wouldn't they have shown off more if it was like
that's the worrying thing. I'm pretty sure Anthem is like it's Q1 2019, February 22nd.
Yeah, they like gave a concrete release date, February,
but like,
whatever.
That would be really.
They had a playable demo. They had like.
You can make a playable demo like 2 years before a game's ready to launch. No,
for sure. Like, they had, like, that first level, at least, finished, first mission, whatever.
Yeah, I think Anthem's going to be
I honestly feel like it might be less development issues, because at least then they give them, like, a release window, I would think, and it might be more that, like, there just isn't actually much content to the game, and that's why they didn't reveal much, because, like, it's going to be, like, repetitive...
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Dull mission structures.
I think it's going to be a
with
game
relatively derivative enemy types.
Like,
and
that's the best they have to show. Like, there's not much more in the game than that, which is something that kind of people were putting together about Destiny 1. Is like warning bells going off, like even before the game came out, of like just like how little was being really shown. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, Anthem has a lot to prove, and we're pretty pessimistic about it. Moving on to Microsoft, I think this Halo thing is a battle royale.
I made a joke tweet like instantly about that being the case. But
I mean, it's every FPS is going battle royale.
I'm pretty sure I remember like something in the presentation making me think, oh no, okay, it's not battle royale.
I think, okay, here's my galaxy brain prediction. I think that they knew going into this E3, which was actually really funny. The narrative going into this year's E3 was like, oh, it's just everything's going to be battle royale.
Right.
And then the actual narrative of E3 was like, single player is fucking back. Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah.
You know? I think Bungie had their finger on the pulse on that. It's like, we're going to show Halo Infinite. We're not going to say it's battle royale. We'll wait for that. We'll wait.
Look up to see if there was like a further.
Because there'll probably be other stuff in there other than just. I'm predicting kind of like a standalone multiplayer, like Fortnite style free to play thing, perhaps that has a battle royale mode, but also has classic Halo multiplayer modes in it as well.
Yeah.
Something that's built as like a Halo online platform.
I mean, that's kind of like the same way, like, I mean, like, Battlefield is adding Battle Royale, but I doubt they're getting rid of, like, Conquest and stuff, so, like...
Yeah, exactly.
That would make sense.
But I feel like Halo single player is just not doing what it used to.
Okay, no, according to a post on Halo Waypoint, the studio heard loud and clear that players weren't fond of how little time Master Chief was featured as a playable character in Halo 5, and as such, Halo Infinite will center around Master Chief and continue his story after what transpires in Guardians.
Okay, so maybe it's like a Reach kind of deal?
They could include a Battle Royale mode for certain, but there's at least some narrative content to it.
Okay, that's interesting. That's kind of more than I was expecting.
Yeah, I
don't have
an
an Xbox One,
they were taking
so...
that it wasn't gonna do that, or at least not like focus on it.
I used to have an intense love for the Halo series. But I feel like that series kind of got away from me, and most of the fans.
Yeah, no, I mean, it seems very much in decline, and it still does have a decent deal of an iconic aspect to it, and probably a solid amount of clout. But I feel like it's on a downward trend.
Halo
that is continuously diminishing in value, and Xbox needs iconic exclusives at this point, so they'll take it.
Legit, I think Gears is a hotter franchise for them right now than Halo is.
But yeah, Gears is probably a stronger exclusive
IP. I think Gears is on the upswing. From Gears 3, I think by the end of that... No, but then Gears 3 had Horde mode. But the single player, no one really cared about the Gears 3 single player. It definitely seems like I was hearing some buzz around.
I didn't hear much buzz for Gears 4.
I heard a little. I heard there's some interesting writing stuff in it. But...
Yeah, so what I heard is that there wasn't much buzz going into it, but the people who played it were very happily surprised. Cool. That's kind of the gist I was picking up, and I think that carried into I definitely picked up a mostly positive vibe about Gears 5, which is something that Microsoft showed.
I can't get over the character designs, but it looked fine.
But I mean, that's been since Gears of War, the first one.
That's why I've never liked
over it. Gears Pop, baby.
Ori still looks incredible.
Yeah.
I think that is maybe the best looking video game. Period. Possibly. I think you have to, it would be in contention if there was that discussion. Yeah.
Just to back up a tad onto that Gears subject, less mimetically, I think the ordering of things was very interesting. Because they started off with Gears Pop, and I believe sort of the purpose behind that was you'll get the 2 minutes of mimetic shock, oh my god, this is what they're doing with Gears. Before oh, by the way, we're also doing an XCOM game. Oh, by the way, also there's just an actual real game.
Oh yeah, that XCOM game.
So
that looked interesting.
They both escape the intense anger at just turning a franchise into a mobile game. Don't worry, we're continuing the main franchise. It's all good. This is just spin-off stuff. So there's very little anger that you can actually have at the Gears of War situation. But they still got sort of the virality of that anger where it flashed into existence for those few minutes where people thought they were just making it into a mobile game and not doing anything else with it.
Not just a mobile game, a Funko Pop mobile game.
Yeah, right. No, exactly. And I think that was really savvy ordering of things from them.
Yeah. If there's nothing else to say about Ori, I think maybe let's talk about one of Microsoft's big winners, Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice.
Yeah. The new FromSoft title looks...
It's the new amazing. Miyazaki FromSoft title, which I think is an important distinction. That guy, at this point, I think he's got to be one of the big
names
Japanese,
in the industry, I mean, they made him... they made him the head of the studio, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, he really proved himself with just back-to-back Dark Souls bangers. I mean, Bloodborne as well. It really kind of during the middle of the Dark Souls trilogy, he literally handed over Dark Souls 2 to someone else to make Bloodborne. I think that's a really strong statement as his of his directorial vision. And this new game looks like it's going in a very interesting new direction. A lot brighter, not quite as eldritch as the Dark Souls series. Maybe still as grotesque.
It's definitely still super dark, but it does seem a lot more...
I wouldn't call it... I don't know if I'd call it... Then again, Dark Souls 3 was actually quite a bright game.
dark
areas that are just like bodies of like dead
or, like,
soldiers.
Yeah, I think.
No, I mean, totally not aesthetically. Mm-hmm. It's definitely aesthetically brighter.
Right.
Yeah. I'm just at this point, you know, there's a lot of connections drawn to Tenchu, which is an old From Software ninja kind of franchise. I think it's probably smart to rebrand because...
Oh, that's right. No, I remember when we got the first 15-second teaser for Sekiro. Some people theorized, guessing, is this a Tenchu sequel?
A Tenchu.
So those comparisons are apt.
Yeah, I do think it's smart to rebrand just because I think it's really... Like, From Software and Miyazaki's From Software line as well has really just,
blown up,
come into its own stride. I think it's better to make spiritual successors to old franchises and make but I'm looking forward to that. At this point, I'm just willing to listen to anything that studio is putting out, especially with Miyazaki directing. I think he's got genuine, I do think he is one of the true visionary game designers at the minute.
Definitely,
Sure. Up there with Yoko Taro and whatnot. He definitely doesn't have that front-facing personality that
he doesn't have
Yoko Taro
a public sweary
in the same way that
Suda 51 or Taro or even Suda 51 have, but he's got the game development chops for sure.
Yeah, he puts out the work. Let's skip.
Only disappointing thing I have to say though is no female protagonist.
Yeah, it's going to be a set specific character you're playing, which will mean that your individual narrative will probably be a bit stronger and more tightly crafted than in the Soul Series games. But also, you can't play a girl, which sucks.
I mean, I'll be perfectly honest. Playing a girl in any of those Dark Souls or Souls games just felt completely pointless because 2 seconds in I put on a helmet and never saw any sign that my characters... I actually really like that about the Dark Souls kind of aesthetic of it does not fucking matter who or what you are this machine, you are this unstoppable
it matters more in
monstrosity.
Bloodborne, where you can actually get fashionable.
Bloodborne was definitely the more kind of I actually saw my character's face for the majority of that game. So,
and it wasn't horribly disfigured.
I mean, I don't know, I don't particularly, especially if it's a really narrative game,
it depends. I guess to me it depends on how narrative it gets.
Exactly. The worst examples to me are games like Persona 5.
Where the protagonist
is a complete blank slate, but it still looks into a gender anyway.
That's the worst. That's definitely the worst. You can't get worse than that.
So, if it's kind of like that, where there's not a really strong... if the main character is just a silent protagonist, then I'll be mad. If this is a Nathan Drake game...
I mean... He could be silent in a certain way, but he needs to have a strong personality.
We know the backstory. His lord, he was separated from. He lost his lord and he lost his hand. He's, I guess, he was tasked with serving and protecting that guy.
Hands, by the way.
What was that?
Good E3 for prosthetic hands.
No, someone mentioned that.
We'll get to that.
To me, also a good E3 for really Japanesey sword fighting games.
I think this is the one I'm more interested in.
Well, there's 3. There's this. There's
the Western one, and then Neo
Shadow
2.
of Tsushima or whatever. And then there's Neo 2. So pretty big focus on Japan. On feudal Japan. Definitely.
Which is cool. It hasn't been explored much in recent games.
He used to get explored
I think I like the idea of Western developers going to that style. It's been done before. There's been plenty of Western games. I mean, look at Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed goes all over the world, every culture imaginable. I think there's kind of almost more of a, you could maybe look at it as mysticism, but I'd prefer to maybe think of it as like reverence, that you can only really get from an outsider's perspective. I think more Japanese focused things tend to be, I mean, I'm really trying to rack my brain for like, I'm coming up with things like Dynasty Warriors or Ninja Gaiden.
I think a good comparison would be like how Dark Souls like portrays the West. There's like a kind of different air to it because you're not from that culture.
And and those Dark Souls games, I feel like, have so much more of a really interesting Western Gothic feel to them than I'm really trying to think of a Western equivalent, honestly, that just really wants to hit that. I mean, I guess you could maybe point at like The Witcher series.
But even that's like Eastern European culture is fairly different from like Western European and derived culture. So like even that's
true. So yeah, I'm actually kind of really curious to see like a really culturally and historically focused look at Japanese kind of history.
Yeah, especially since Tsushima is not like, it's not supernatural, right? Like there's been no indications of supernatural
but that
stuff.
Seems to be like the most historical one, because Nioh is obviously a lot of basis in Japanese mythology, lots of fantasy elements, obviously, in Sekiro where you're grapple hook arming around and fighting demons, Oni.
I just realized I said Dynasty Warriors, and that's about China.
And also, isn't Dynasty Warriors Japanese development, right?
It's Japanese developed about China. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, there's a lot of examples of Japanese games that play very fast and loose with Japanese history.
Yeah.
So
is there anything else
Microsoft?
From the Microsoft con?
Yeah, there's stuff. There's Captain Spirit, which is a free Life is Strange standalone adventure, which I'm glad that it's looking like a short thing, because I think what they're going for with it being about a kid and being very much about imagination, it looks wonderful, but I don't think that could drive a full 5-episode experience.
And they promised Easter eggs in that game that will provide some details for the next Life is Strange title, so we'll probably getting those Redditors decoding it immediately upon release.
Crackdown 3, the only reason this is really worth mentioning is Terry Crews is a fucking delight and a true national treasure.
Yeah, he's great. The game looks boring as shit, but like he's
what
great.
I find real
that game's got verticality though.
It does, you know,
not good. It looks
verticality was fun.
You could like drive up buildings in that game. That does look actually that did look cool.
But right. So Crackdown 3, in addition to just seeing the trailer and such, we learned that it was delayed to 2019.
That's a lot of delays.
And I don't think it was even given like a concrete release date in 2019. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was February. Was it February like every other game?
I think it was. Hang on.
Yeah, I think it was February.
That's another like E3 storyline. How many games, and specifically like big ticket games, are releasing not just in February, like February 22nd, and like within a week of that date.
Yeah.
Shit! I literally just scrolled down this list. Metro Exodus, February 22nd.
Yeah, no.
It's probably like a fiscal.
It seems really
maybe, but also
dumb.
They're gonna suffocate each other. There's too many. They're gonna play chicken. Like one of them's gonna choose to change their date.
The fiscal year ends at the end of March, so I guess I kind of get releasing like at the end of your fiscal year. But like, that's too many games. No one can buy all those games.
Especially when a lot of them are like more mainstream, generic AAA stuff, like Anthem and Metro. Those are both like shooty things, and they have
Metro does not fit into a AAA box. It really doesn't.
I know they have
like
unique attributes and different audiences, but if we're talking about just like the total sort of revenue of those games, they are drawing upon similar crowds of people. Like they will step on each other's toes.
I think Metro was the wrong pick for that. Metro's a really weird property. Yeah, honestly, the market for the Metro series goes back to like the Stalker series.
Yeah, that is true.
It's definitely a very interesting lineage of very Middle Eastern.
You mean Eastern European?
Russian, yeah. Did I say Middle Eastern?
Yes.
I'm really tired. Sorry, it's like midnight. Yeah, Eastern European is what I meant to say. Yeah, like very like Soviet inspired kind of gaming, and it was like very much like The Witcher, I think, as a really natural progression of started out as like just a very
Eurojank.
Yes, exactly, and just grew a really kind of dedicated following over the years. So I think Metro, like I say, Metro doesn't need to play chicken, I don't think, and they won't, because Eastern Europeans are a very well. I mean, come on, Eastern Europeans, they do what they want. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
Metro does look cool though. It looks just like Metro. Same vibe. Those games always look incredible visually.
What's interesting to me about Crackdown 3, which we sort of got off of for a bit. Oh, I guess that was the obvious comparison. Yeah, Crackdown 3's audience and Anthem's audience, there's going to be overlap there.
I would say there's more there,
But for Crackdown 3, it's interesting to me that it has been such a fraught production, so heavily besieged by delays, because it has been a long time. Like, was it announced back in 2013 or something?
I was just about to say it was like one of the early next generation titles.
They are just sticking with it. It's gonna come out. What about Scalebound? Why couldn't you have given Scalebound? Why didn't you let them be delayed? Like, they just needed 1 or 2 delays. They didn't need like 7. Why did you do this, Microsoft? Why did you try and kill Platinum Games?
To be fair,
and force Yoko Taro to save them?
I don't think that Scalebound would have moved units.
Maybe
I don't think anything could have like
generic bro gamer.
I think very little could have like moved Xbox units at this point, like particularly as like system sellers. I feel like it's just like the people who are predisposed to buy an Xbox instead of a PS4
you know what?
will do
that's
so,
a really
and that's it.
Good thing. Yeah, like they're sort of shifting. Like, okay, we've lost a console war, investing in a big system sell and like continuing to try and get that to work when its production is so messy. Like, we're just not gonna sell systems really at this point. Whereas Crackdown is like investing in your core audience. It's an established IP, not a new one like Scalebound.
Yeah.
It's a type of
very tied to
gameplay
Xbox.
and just an IP that your inbuilt Xbox fan base is already acquainted with and fans of and desire. So you're not trying to expand your base really at this point. You're just trying to look to solidify it, to please them, to sort of reassure them that there is value in being part of that Xbox brand, and that you're sort of aware of them and catering to those tastes of theirs.
I think Xbox kind of nailed that whole thing with this conference. I think Xbox had a really strong conference.
It was very much the tone they tried to take.
Probably the best conference?
Yeah, I think it's them or Bethesda.
This is the one that they released.
I'll talk about Bethesda.
They revealed Devil May Cry as well in the Microsoft conference, which is a big one. I mean, people have been thinking for like at least 2 years, hey, are they going to do tease DMC 5 in this E3? This is finally the one where it happened.
Yeah. And I think DMC 5 had the second best trailer of E3, which honestly just speaks volumes to how good the best trailer is. Because that music is amazing. I know what the best trailer is.
You don't. You soon will. You probably know. Yeah. Any other highlights? Actually, I have like no history with DMC.
Same.
But I mean, go off if you've got anything
Devil May
to
Cry
say.
4. I'm really looking forward to playing as Nero again. I love his sword. He revs it up. It's got an engine in it. I like the arm stuff. I like that it's carrying over some of the DMC, D lowercase MC.
Yeah, that makes things very tricky. Can I just like lodge a complaint that I've had arise in the past few days that like there is a spin-off game whose title is DMC separate from the Devil May Cry games, but like Devil May Cry is a long name to say, and naturally your instinct is to just say DMC because that's a good way. But like that's referring to a slightly different thing, and it is very frustrating, and I think that was ill-considered on their part.
Yeah. So real talk from DMC5, I don't want to play as Dante at any part in the game. At most, he should be an unlockable character to replay the game with after you beat it. And I hope he dies in this one. I think Dante is especially OG Dante, he is very... I just think he's done. I think he's just been...
cancelled.
Yeah.
This is 20.
No, I don't think he's... Oh yeah, he is so hot. But I think he was just like a kind of a style icon, kind of, and
fashion
really
mogul.
Flat. Yeah, definitely. I just think Nero is just more compelling, and like Nero is compelling in every way that Dante used to be. Dante is no longer any of that to me. I want Nero and his hot Southern GF to just
God, her accent was really bad, by the way. That was not...
But that's what you want! But that's what you want!
That is what you want in a Devil May Cry game.
I guess you're right. I know
enough about Devil May Cry to know that's what you want in a Devil May Cry game.
Yeah.
And an obligatory mention, fellow host Jackie is immensely excited for Devil May Cry 5.
I am too. It's on my top 5 for sure.
They are crying at the trailers. Great to see them getting some
Forza
good
Horizon 4 is taking place in the UK. It looks amazing. It looks really accurate, but I don't think any of us are interested.
I don't care about cars.
Microsoft announced that they had bought 5 game studios, including Ninja Theory, which I am very interested in, because I hope it doesn't lock me out of future Ninja Theory games. I adore that studio.
I liked that part of... I thought that part of the presentation was like, okay, like, it's cool to know you're announcing these studios, but like, if you're not showing... They would started by talking about how, like, oh, we have all these, like... We know you haven't had enough exclusives, so we're making exclusives. But then you didn't like list the exclusives. You just were like, we bought these studios. Which is like,
they
promised they are coming, and
We
like
Happy Few, Forza Horizon, the State of Decay team, which just put out a game. They announced the initiative without announcing a game. Honestly, it seems to me like this is a move setting them up for
the future, for the next generation,
for the Xbox 2.
Yeah, Xbox 2.
Oh my god, if they call it the Xbox 2, fucking god.
It'll probably be like the Xbox Infinite or something stupid that they have no way to go forward
just Xbox,
from.
Just call it Xbox.
Oh my god, I will
the Xbox,
die.
From the Xbox to the Xbox 360 to the Xbox One to the Xbox.
Yeah, they would do it though. Game companies are stupid. They do really dumb naming decisions.
Xbox is stupid. PlayStation's got it figured out. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, no, they didn't have any stupid like misconceptions. Just fucking number it. Good job.
Yeah. Okay, so Division 2 was a bit of a snore. I don't think there's much to say on that. Not much to say about Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Session, the skating game that's not Skate 4, looks good, but fucking hell are EA so stupid. Like, I can't believe it's another like, literally, I made a tweet because there was a trending thing. Skate 4 was trending, and the description underneath, sometimes you get little descriptions, is there was a skateboarding game shown at E3, but it wasn't Skate 4. It was like along those lines. It's just so free.
Yeah. Overall, my thoughts on the Microsoft conference. I keep getting stuck on conference. I want to say like concert or something. I don't know why.
Convention.
Yeah, that too. Are that like in terms of layout and how they conducted it and format and everything?
Games.
It was very well done.
Yeah,
but relatively little of what they had to show actually interested me any real manner, and as such,
Sure.
I was sort of relatively bored throughout it, in spite of, I think, them handling things relatively
Yeah, I don't
well.
think I would have been able to
was
watch the whole thing if I
screeching
wasn't
at the start
with
when they
you.
opened it up with Sekiro. Like, literally, that was the hypest moment of E3 for me.
What?
Okay.
Did you hear that DMC song there?
There's also You're right. The hypest in terms of like sort of generic gamer hype. You know.
Yeah, you're a real gamer girl, so.
Indeed. Very pro, very elite. So yeah. But outside of that, there were very few notable pulses for me throughout the rest of their showing. One other moment that I did love though. Was when they announced that they were using their machine learning algorithms to launch your games twice as fast, and they called it Fast Start.
God.
Pretty good.
I don't like the technobabble to start it off was the fucking perfect framing for this bullshit silly thing. I loved that. That was genius.
Didn't need E3.
We're using our advanced AI machine learning to start your games quicker.
That was like a 30-second thing. Like a minute.
No, it wasn't bad. It was funny just because like it was such a stupid concept. It's not like funny because it's terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's a good concept to not talk about and just like have it work.
Just like not brag about your machine learning algorithm.
Guys.
Just say like, hey, you can launch games faster. We got science.
We need to start talking about Jump Force.
Oh, was
yes. That was so good.
That was
so good.
No, okay.
It was so good.
It's so bad, but at the same time, kind of good because it was the ugliest. It's
that was
the
another of
ugliest
those pulses.
Anime characters have ever looked.
No, okay. Seeing that like opening shot of like this destroyed version of New York, and then you see fucking Naruto.
yeah. It's very like Sonic kind of thing where.
I'm used to it with Sonic,
like,
though. I'm not used to it with like a jump characters.
The one thing I liked about the whole thing was like the panning of just the panning of New York, and then there was Frieza's spaceship was just crashed there, and I was like, it looks so out of the artwork that it like I was looking at it, I was like, what the is that the Dragon Ball spaceship?
Yeah.
And then once Naruto showed up, I was like, oh, okay. But no, that legit looks so bad.
Oh yeah,
the art
that's
style
bad.
just
It's
looks
really
so
hideous.
bad. I hate it.
But it's
speaking
amazing.
of bad art style, some good art style. Cuphead's getting expansion. I'm sure people are happy about that.
Yep.
Female playable character.
Female playable character.
Here's a good game to talk about. Dying Light 2.
Yes, definitely, 100%.
Yeah.
I didn't play the first Dying Light. However, they introduced the game basically. Well, the first cinematic was like whatever. This is just like shoot. But after they went past that, when they brought Chris Avellone, one of my favorite writers for writing a lot of the early Fallout games in New Vegas, up, I was like, okay, I'm suddenly interested because he's actually like good at writing like political stuff and like interesting worlds that are dense and like the politics of the world like are matter, and then like showing the breadth of choice and like the influence your choices can have was definitely like, okay, this is definitely something worth being excited for, especially since
looks like a
as we'll get to later, Bethesda is not going to satisfy my Fallout needs, and so I must turn to other directions.
So, I can attest to the quality of Dying Light's gameplay. I would say the story was by far the weakest part of the first game, which is, I think, a really strong case for this second game. Like, they just, I think, made a really strong statement bringing Chris Avellone out as the main talking point about their game.
What are you, Lachlan? What are you doing?
Yeah, Lachlan, do we need to talk about what you're looking at, or
Shadowbug released a new image. No.
Oh, okay.
I didn't get a word.
Don't ask about it.
It's an artist who like kills us every time they post because their stuff is really good.
Okay. Okay.
I'm
Wait,
back.
you're on the TL during a podcast. How unprofessional.
I got tweets blowing up. I'm a social media personality and icon, if you will. I gotta keep the people happy.
You caught that E3 gold, like, yeah.
Oh, I guess we should mention
you went
that.
panning for gold in the E3 stream.
I made
and you got
a viral E3 tweet.
Yeah.
Let's look at it now. Where is it? Oh fuck! I shut off the notification button. Hold on. It is at 24,000 and some odd likes and like 5,500 retweets, which is by far the most engagement a tweet has ever gotten.
I saw the image.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Okay. We're professionals.
Right, professional tweeter. It was literally just me screaming in all caps about lesbians, and thank you, gay Twitter, for signal boosting me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So yeah, Dying Light looks really good.
I've now got a pretty secure follower lead on Zaria, where she was catching up to me for a bit.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Almost 100 more now, so.
Okay, stop rubbing it in.
Don't need to talk about any of these. Oh, yeah, so we can wrap up Microsoft, and
I think a good
Microsoft was
thing
by far the most games-heavy conference.
Yeah, Microsoft is the fact that like so many of these games, I forgot. Oh, right, that was a Microsoft game, which sort of just speaks to the volume of games that they showed.
Yeah.
Maybe speaks also to like the weakness of the Xbox brand and like the fact I don't associate them with Microsoft super strongly.
I mean, like
a
lot.
Well, every single one of these games is going to be on PC.
Yeah. A lot of them. Okay, first. They did open... Oh, this was something else interesting. They opened their conference. We're going to show 50 games, 18 exclusives. Xbox has games, we promise. It does actually have games. Xbox has games. Hey, guys, there's games on the Xbox.
The thing is, they do this cheat because they call it Xbox exclusive, but they have like a new Xbox branding.
Yeah, console launch exclusive, which just means like it's going to be there first and then other places later.
Yeah, it's not...
Which I mean,
it was a great showing
on both platforms.
Yeah, no, definitely. But like, it was a great showing, just not like a great thing to convince you to go buy an Xbox.
It feels like PlayStation, especially recently, certainly in this E3, like when they're bragging about an exclusive, like look how exclusive it is. They're like doing it for like a first party or like big actually exclusive third party IP.
Yeah.
Like they don't feel the need to sort of count up with exactness how many titles are technically exclusive in some degree to them because they don't need to, because everyone sort of gives the crown for having better library.
Well, they have
overall.
Japanese developers, so they automatically get exclusives.
It's true.
I mean, Microsoft tried to show off Japanese developers.
In the Microsoft conference, they were like, we know you gamers like your Japanese RPGs, so Microsoft, we support that. What was the game they showed right after they mentioned JRPGs? Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
Great. Which is not like an exclusive to Xbox at all.
It was only
it's the first Kingdom Hearts game that's ever been
times
available.
Kingdom Hearts was shown
on the Xbox.
I think actually 4 times. I think Kingdom Hearts might have been shown 4 times. Or it was 3 or 4.
3. It was at Sony, Microsoft, and Square.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I will say this much: Kingdom Hearts does not have enough brand power to demand that much screen time.
No,
I
don't think so.
Like, yes, it's got a huge amount of nostalgia force, but that isn't gonna. I guarantee that's not going to translate to sales.
I think the playtime it got is probably in excess of like the success it will
get.
But
I mean, I'm sure it'll be like the best-selling Kingdom Hearts, but like...
Yeah. It might not be in excess of the hype that is surrounding that game, though, just because like the development time has been so long.
The hype is loud, not wide.
Right, yeah, it's deep, not wide. So I think in like some ways it is appropriate, but you're right in sort of saying that it may not be super far-reaching.
Because like, here's the thing, right? Never played a Kingdom Hearts game in my life. I'm looking at that game, and I just think it looks absolutely lame as shit.
I think it looks fine, but like...
Aqua-Norded, though, Brooke. Aqua-Norded.
What does that mean?
I don't know what that
means.
She
Norded, Brooke.
What does Norded mean? What does Norded mean?
I don't know. I don't do Kingdom Hearts.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I'm guessing
the
that's
dude
a
who makes
Kingdom
the funny
Hearts thing.
short
But,
gamer videos. Did it? It's good. I stole his joke.
It just looks so aesthetically ugly. Like having, I mean, okay, so those Japanese RPG style characters just have aged so poorly, especially in the age of like Final Fantasy 15 boys just looking so tasty. They just look hideous. Like to me, Kingdom Hearts 3, it looks like, you know, when you're on you're on basically like any website and you've got those fucking like Naruto cross Pokemon browser ad games popping up. That's what Kingdom Hearts genuinely fucking looks like, and it's on 3 fucking E3 stages this year. I think it looks fucking garbage. It could be a really fun game, just aesthetically so weak.
Oh, I know enough people who like care about it deeply enough that I won't shit talk Kingdom Hearts because like.
I'll do it.
There's something there, I'm sure, and like I'm not gonna.
I'll do it because I'm reckless like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2 things to close. Microsoft Tunic looks amazing.
Yes. I really love that. It's like a sort of very
Zelda?
like Zelda inspired thing with the fox character that is, according to the devs, from what we've heard, like canonically non-binary, which is dope as hell.
Yeah, I think I dropped that in the Discord because I really want to say it was a PAX. I saw them showing that game, and like 2 of the devs actually sat down, and every time they were referring to the character, using they, and specifically stating that it's a non-binary character.
And I loved the overall style of the game. The soundtrack that we saw was really gorgeous. It was like that subtle, atmospheric electronic stuff that's very much what we get with Steven Universe's OST a lot of the time.
Yeah, definitely.
And one sort of shot from the trailer that really stood out to me was when the fox Tunic, they walk up to the top of a tower and there's this like black bodied boss guy.
That looked cool.
And it felt very old school to me and like very understated. No
My
big
one complaint,
like effects or sound sting or anything. He just sort of turns around slowly and turns to face you with his intimidating cool design, and it's just gonna go down.
My one complaint is I think there's a bit too much bloom thus far.
It's
very bloom.
I kind of liked the bloom, to be honest. I was a fan. But it is a lot.
To close Microsoft out, I would say probably the biggest talking point game of the entire show this year, I think. Cyberpunk.
It's either that or Smash. So yeah, Cyberpunk's like has a lot more interesting stuff to talk about though than Smash does. Smash is just like hype to a lot of people.
It looks really cool. We just found out that you get to pick your gender and romance. Now it did not quite. You can it said you can bring home NPCs for one night stands. It did not say you can do gay one night stands.
I'm gonna assume gay. I'm just gonna assume gay for myself.
It would be weird if you could not do so.
In a world like that, I would be like, okay, I could take.
I would break my immersion if I couldn't.
Robots,
actually,
cyborgs, real dolls.
If I wasn't able to pick up women in game like I'm able to do so effortlessly in real life, it would just break my
okay,
it's not realistic. I'm sorry. If there's a woman, I can seduce her, and if I can't
even argue you because it worked on me.
I actually got genuine, in a really positive way. I got genuine GTA vibes from everything Cyberpunk showed. Which was not actually kind of what I was expecting. It really does look like an open world sandbox more than a traditional CD Projekt Red RPG.
I mean, it definitely looks like more RPG than like
it
GTA
will be,
or
for sure. But what I mean is, very much like everything it was showing really did feel like a GTA trailer.
No, for
and
sure.
in a really positive way to me.
Not the.
I also
bad
think
parts
the
of
big.
GTA.
The big talking point to me though for it is like, this is the freshest Cyberpunk aesthetic I have seen maybe ever. Like, Cyberpunk as a genre has chased Blade Runner for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, there was barely a single drop of neon in this whole trailer. It looked amazing.
Yeah, no,
yeah,
that was
you
good.
can do
Definitely
Cyberpunk
good.
without neon. Who knew?
I mean,
Yeah.
I think there's limits to what you can even do with Cyberpunk's aesthetic, even like with this far and how like radical that can be nowadays. But like within the constraints that exist, it's definitely like one of the most interesting visually.
Just replace the neon with furries. Pretty Cyberpunk IMO.
Okay, Lachlan, can we take you off the podcast?
This is one of those non-episode.
You get to take
TCC
home fursuit NPCs in Cyberpunk. this is a pressing
customize your
journalistic
fursuit.
inquiry.
I think Saints Row games let you do that.
Seems like a lack of really a deficiency of ethics in games journalism that caused that question to not be asked. No one was brave enough.
It's true. Okay, so let's move on to Bethesda.
Yeah.
Yes, let's move on to Bethesda.
Let's move on to Bethesda.
Rage 2, who cares?
Yeah.
It was funny to me because the original Rage game was relatively well received in a lot of areas, but
I don't think it really was.
Primary critique. I mean, very few people actually loved it, but like the general consensus was, yeah, it's good, it's competent, it does.
The only thing I
things.
think about when I think of Rage is Breaking Bad. The fucking weird ass scene where he's using a light gun to play Rage.
But the primary complaint was just that it was pretty dull, uninventive, especially aesthetically, just not like a ton going on. And so if you just have like an alright competent game mechanically that has nothing distinctive to it, you're just not going to do much. And with the amount of energy, with bringing Andrew WK in, it very much felt to me, and I mean it already did this with like the whole like bright color paint whatever punk aesthetic it had going on just going into the show, but with him especially, look, we are exciting, look, I promise it's not boring anymore, we spiced it up, we got energy, we're punk, like like felt incredibly insistent, and as a result very insecure sort of about that prior perception of that first game, to the point almost that I thought it might like be boring merely on the basis of how intensely they were insisting it was going to be exciting. Like that was the level it was at.
Yeah. I feel like it was all show no go. Like Rage 2 has so much upsell to do on. I mean,
when they
showed
gameplay,
before.
like the gameplay looked relatively. I'm running out of gamer buzzwords. Help! It looked like gameplay that was and moved quick and did gameplay things. It looked iconic. It looked innovative. It looked
like the first thing that came to my mind when you said gamer buzzwords was just slurs.
Oh no!
Like the word slurs. Like what the fucking time that we live in.
It looks like a real fag of a game.
Oh god! I'll let you off. I'll let you off with that one.
But yeah, I mean, and like it did have colors. It did have wacky haircuts.
Sure.
We'll see.
We've talked way longer about.
Yeah, we shouldn't.
Let's get into the real big name Bethesda stuff. Yeah, Doom looks like Doom.
Yeah, more Doom. That's what people want. It's funny, the game that has the right to show, like to actually fucking get out there and do that kind of shit that Rage is doing, is Doom. Doom can walk that, but they chose not to. They were just like, yo, here's a trailer for a game that we know you want. We're making it for you.
Yeah.
So Doom is good. Doom's on Jackie's list.
I just had it. The game was the game. Shit. Doom. Wolfenstein. Wolfenstein was at Bethesda. Yes, it was.
Yes, it was. I'm sure we were about to get to that.
Yeah,
we will get there quickly. I'm one of the few people who was extremely positive on Prey, and I will be getting the DLC.
Yeah, no, that looked really cool. I am curious as to what the plans are, because Prey is not like a game that's monetized into the game's lifespan, and they announced a relatively meaty expansion, DLC, what have you, that's going to be free.
Yeah.
And so I can sort of see one of two strategies. One is like maybe this thing will get more attention to it and more people will buy the game just because, oh, new thing coming out. Look, I heard of the game now. That seems less likely to me just because I can't imagine that like working out monetarily. So I'd imagine this is in preparation of doing something else with Prey, and then they're trying to generate a bit of buzz and attention on it.
So Moon Crash is the free part, and then the paid part is Typhon Hunter. Which is
okay,
like
it is
a multiplayer game.
The multiplayer is paid,
and it does sound good. It sounds like a proper like prop hunt kind of thing, and I think that there's enough mechanics already built into Prey for that to really be interesting.
Okay,
There's already dedicated prop hunt games in development.
Right.
There's like a really interesting witch one, which I kind of like the look of.
Yeah, no, I've seen that.
So yeah, I think that's neat. Prey, I genuinely, Prey was like top 3. I think it was my 3rd favorite game of last year.
Yeah, no,
I've
I heard
heard
a lot of good things.
A lot of good things.
Up against like Breath of the Wild and shit.
The mid-lane sort of success it ended up finding.
Yeah. God, last year was so strong. Holy shit.
No, definitely.
So there was Wolfenstein Youngblood.
Which
and the
is
interesting
good.
things there were like lots of like a very explicit, strongly worded "fuck Nazis" from the presenters on stage.
They've been doing
cool.
that. Ever since Wolfenstein 2,
it's been
they've been
part of
writing
the marketing
that.
for a little while.
They get to ride that until it's not relevant.
Yeah, both like from the developer. Oh, what was the quote from the guy? I don't remember.
Continuing like our like something.
Dedication to
that was great.
But like there was a huge marketing push around
definitely.
punching Nazis for Wolfenstein 2 in the wake of the Richard Spencer punching.
What was cool was this studio head dude came out afterwards. Okay, moving on to the next game. But he had like what seemed very much like an ad-lib, fuck Nazis comment himself, which was fun. And the other thing is that it's set in the future and you're playing as the twin daughters of...
Set in the 80s, which is the future relative to the series, yes.
Yeah.
J.D. Blazkowicz, who he's just been like raising from birth to be the ultimate muscle twin badass
Nazi
killers. It does look cool. And it can be played co-op as well.
Yes, co-op. Right?
Oh, we're going to play co-op. I'm
very excited to be playing hot, muscly Nazi killers co-op with Zarya.
Yeah, that game, cool. Wolfenstein is just a neat franchise.
Yeah, killing Nazis is fun. You know, people used to get tired of that, but like I feel like the changing political climate has made us like reopen our mind
to
the value of killing Nazis in games.
Well, it's so explicitly Nazis as well. Like the Wolfenstein 2 like Nazi America stuff was so like it's like it's like the Virgin and the Chad meme of the Division 2, like this game is apolitical, and Wolfenstein 2 on stage, fuck Nazis.
What is or was a bit interesting to me is the fact that Wolfenstein 2 ended off on what a lot of people thought was a pretty strong sequel hook. Like some people were upset because the game felt incomplete just because how sort of relatively inconclusive narratively the ending was. And we're not...
Well, they've already announced the title for the 3rd game, I think.
Have they?
I think they did, yeah. But like we're not like continuing that story directly. You know, they felt things were left hanging, and then we're going to jump 20 years into the future with those things still
So I don't know if you know this, but between Wolfenstein 1 and 2 was a Wolfenstein game called Wolfenstein The Old Blood.
Yeah, no, that was like...
Which this game this game is called The Young Blood, so... There's very much like a main series off series, main series off series pattern.
You know what? Yeah.
Which it fits into.
I mean,
like
something.
The Old Blood was I forget like the name. It's like when Saints Row: A Bat Out of Hell. Like those things. expansion.
It was a
more like
B, it was a
expansions
B game.
Yeah. So it's like part DLC, part new game. It sort of rides the line between those two, and this just like in
Blood Dragon.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, standalone expansion, I guess,
Yeah,
would
standalone
be the best
expansion.
term.
So this, in its framing, felt more new gamey and less expansion-y.
No, I think this is definitely going to be like a
explaining
$20,
sort of the
$30
general
game.
situation. It would make much more sense for this to be an expansion thingy more so than like a full game for sure.
I like how they're
also
willing to just say, like, oh, the Nazis, yeah, in like the actual third game, you're not going to defeat them. They're still going to be around the 80s. Have fun. Like, that's kind of...
Well, I think it's going to be an alternate... I think it's like... I think it's very much like a, a Blood Dragon kind of thing.
That's
I
possible.
don't think it is canonical to the timeline.
Maybe.
I kind of prefer the ideas that the Nazis, like, didn't fall just because of BJ, but,
Yeah. So, yeah, let's move on to... Yeah, the big game. Yeah, because Elder Scrolls 6
Todd
was
Howard's
just a
stand-up
teaser.
special.
I think Todd Howard nailed it.
He was a great... Okay.
Entertaining.
My problems with Bethesda's showcase were not in how good of a presentation it was, because it was an excellent presentation, like, on all fronts.
Oh, yeah, on a technical level, outside of, like, the very opening with Rage, which did go on, like, a relatively long amount of time for how many people were just not interested in what that was about. Like, that was a bad foot to start things on and got people low energy. But after that, it was really stellar, I think.
Yeah.
I honestly appreciate Todd Howard just going full on diva, leaning into all of the memes about him.
Yeah,
The Amazon trailer was great. I thought, like, the bugs joke was the one, like, more questionable one, because, like, that is an actual issue they have, and, like, making light of that seems a bit iffy. But
I mean, no, fuck it.
like,
If you're
you sure
going
do
to
love to complain about the games you pay for being broken. Yeah.
No, but here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. Like, if you're going to rightfully be criticized for something, then acknowledging it, like, they weren't.
Yeah.
I don't feel like they were joking about it in like people who complain about
it
bugs.
Felt like
right?
it was a bit like demeaning, like, oh, those net commenters. But yeah, it was like a very minor issue overall for sure.
I don't know. I mean, yeah. To be honest, I'm pretty forgiving of Bethesda bugs because no one else is doing it better. Like, maybe the Witcher. And I don't think they're the same type of games.
Okay, here we go. Hit me with the Fallout, man. Hit me. Go.
Okay, so
I think it looks good.
I think it looks like all right for what it is. I'm gonna be nice. I'm not gonna be angry. I'm not gonna be an angry person ranting about how Bethesda ruined the franchise, even though they did ruin the franchise. I'm not going to rant about that because that's not what I want to do. It's not what I want to be right now. But they did ruin the franchise. Look, okay, 76 looks good at what it is, but what it is so not what I like out of Fallout. That it's like, and it's continuing trends that I already saw in 4 that make me go like, I'm just not going to find what I want out of Fallout in Fallout anymore. Like, 4, I was like, okay, I don't like what they're doing, the direction they're going, but like, it could be recovered. But, like, 76 convinces me, like, it's not going to be recovered. The vision that, like, Bethesda has for Fallout is so radically different from my vision that, like, there's just no salvaging it for me. Which is not to say that it looks like a bad game. It just looks so... Like, where's the themes of Fallout in this game? It's all about, like, taking... like, manifest destiny and, like, using these nukes to, like, hurt other players and not, like...
Yes!
No, but that's not Fallout. Fallout's about, like, hoping, like, trying with all your might to, like, build a better world in this, like, one that was destroyed despite the fact that, like, humanity has this impulse towards war. And that, like the fact that, like...
and we are the impulse. We get to be the impulse.
But that's not thematic anything. It's just letting you, like, drown in your vices.
I feel like the theme of Fallout to me is that a bunch of fucking idiots blew the world up, right?
Well, yeah.
How on point is that? That they let
you can't just like let you be like the bad person and go like, oh, it's social commentary. We just let you do the bad thing. Now it's commentary.
Out of the vault, literally the first vault to open. What do? They immediately start setting off nukes. I love it. To me, that just seems exactly like
That's not commentary, though. That's just, like, letting you do the bad thing. It's... If
that's, like, the objective of the game, if you, like, get rewarded
it's encouraging you to be that bad person.
Yeah.
Yeah, but come on, I love blowing up Megaton.
Okay, like... But the Megaton is, like, you are discouraged from doing it. Like, you can do it, but you are discouraged. And I don't even think Megaton's well written. I think it's stupid. I don't think Fallout 3's writing is very good. But, like, at least you're discouraged from blowing up Megaton. Whereas, like, this is encouraging you to be the, like, person that destroyed the world.
When I compare it to, like, which was a franchise built upon, like, being very conscious
it had writing
of thematics and morality, and the weight of human action and the weight of conflict and violence, and turning it into like an entirely vapid violent sandbox.
I'm gonna blow my idiot friend's base up.
Okay, like I'm not saying. Look, enjoy the game. I'm not. I have nothing against people who are gonna enjoy the game.
That this
but it's not what I want out of Fallout.
Yeah, but I mean, you haven't got that out of a Bethesda Fallout literally ever. 3 didn't have it. 4 didn't have it. The only thing that had it was New Vegas.
Yeah, I know,
Obsidian
but like
made that.
I could have hoped since this is a spin-off, I had a little more hope that like, oh, I mean 3 and even 4 to some degree, not well in any sense, but like 3 and 4 to some degree were like aiming towards like some themes. They did it so very poorly.
I think you need to play The Witcher 3.
I'm sure I'll like The Witcher. I'm sure I'll like The Witcher, but I don't think
The Witcher 3 has that vision.
I don't think
that you're looking for
the specific like. But I like the aesthetics of Fallout. I just like when they're being used actually in the original and even in 3 and New Vegas and to some degree 4, but to a lesser degree. The aesthetic of Fallout, the aesthetic of like past America is like satirical. Whereas here it's ironic, but it's not satirical. It's like ironic the same way that like an alt-right person, which I'm not trying to say the game's like alt-right or anything, an alt-right person will use like haha irony, so like divine leader Trump, ha ha ha. Like it's ironic, but like really it's like lovingly like ironic. Like yeah, we sure loved that like 1950s America. Like the like Take Me Home Country Roads is like played as in like yeah, West Virginia, Americana. Whereas like the intro songs to the other Fallout games were like the songs are ironic. This is a like sick like look at this and then look at the destroyed world you're born into, not like this like lush West Virginia, woo, the nukes like made this like cool place. I don't know. I'm just very not pleased with the direction of the series. I could talk about it for a lot longer, but I won't. Yeah.
I like survival mechanics and blowing things up with
That's
nukes.
Fair. It's fair. It's just
it does look competent. It looks like a AAA endeavor in a space that hasn't had
for like
any AAA.
If you want like a Rust-like game, it looks great. It just
Fallout Battle Royale.
It's just not what I want from
PvP
Fallout.
and Fallout sounds good. The combat in 4 was decent.
It was
like
decent.
They're gonna have to take out the VAT system, right? At least for the PvP.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because none of the roots are alive anymore, and it's not Fallout. Okay, please move on so I don't stay salty. Please, I need to be saved.
I just think I feel like Fallout is such a dead. Like,
it's
yeah, I get you, but like
it's
all
like,
of those things have been gone.
No, I mean, 4 like I didn't. I really hated 4.
Way too late to be mad about
this. I really hated 4, but like I could at least like. 4 was like this series is dying, whereas like the announcement of 76 is like this series is dead.
The series was not dead until Fallout 76, and its vision was
what about
revealed.
Shelter?
I mean, Shelter was pretty bad. Shelter was pretty bad. The Shelter and 4 announcement was that 2014 or 2015?
I think it was 2014.
15. I'm gonna say 15.
No,
14.
Whichever
14.
E3 announced Fallout 4 and Shelter was like, okay, so this is
15.
a bad direction, Bethesda, but like, you know, it's not dead, but this is dead. And I'll just accept that. From now on, I won't be, like, upset because I'll be able to be like, well, the series is already dead. But this time I am upset because it was not quite dead to me yet.
Because you just watched it die.
Yeah. Basically.
Hey, Zeri, I'm going to blow your base up with a nuke. Do you have launch codes? Daria, do you have launch codes?
No,
I promise I won't blow your base up. I promise. No, I promise. No, trust me, please. I know I did it last time, but I won't this time. I promise I won't blow your base up.
I will immediately reverse course if Bethesda gives like some other studio a chance to make like a top-down, like Fallout 1 and 2 style RPG. If you do that, I will forgive you for everything, and the series is actually alive, and I will buy all your games, Bethesda. But. You know, I don't think that'll happen.
Okay, I think that's enough. 76 talk.
Yeah.
Elder Scrolls Blades looks kind of interesting.
Look, the combat was.
Well, it's a phone game.
The mobile game, yeah.
Yeah, it's a phone game. Of course, the combat's not going to be amazing. I do think it looks ambitious.
Oh, it's certainly ambitious. It's just. I feel like this would have been better to show a few years ago. It's not as impressive now, I don't think, to get something like that running on a phone as it would have been like 3 or 4 years ago. You know? Which isn't a knock against the game, maybe. I guess. Just like how impressive it is. I still think it's one of the most impressive things I've seen on a phone. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. It's just that like my phone could like emulate like an N64 game easily, or like old... I could emulate like...
That looks like... That really does not look too far off Skyrim.
Yeah, actually, Skyrim's not actually
definitely
that pretty.
That's
Skyrim's not that pretty. I forgot how
Skyrim does not look that good.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
It's
that's
definitely
true.
on par with Oblivion.
You're definitely right on that.
Yeah, I'm just curious what it is. Like, I don't understand why people get upset about phone games because they're just.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely not like upset. It just was not as impressive to me as it could have been.
Yeah, sure, I get that. And then Elder Scrolls 6 was announced, which, to be fair. Yeah, I think they probably should have announced it.
Yeah, I mean, like...
we probably won't see gameplay of this for, like, 3 years.
Okay, they said this comes after Starfield, right? Or, like, Star...
yes.
Whatever. Is Field?
Starfield, yes.
Okay, yes. They said this is after Starfield, and they said Starfield is a next-gen game, so I'm honestly not expecting Elder Scrolls 6 to, like, 2022.
Yeah, it won't be for ages, but at the same time, I do think that saying it's in development is good because it's one of those things where people won't shut up about it every E3. It's just smart.
Mm-hmm. And they don't want to worry people into thinking like Elder Scrolls Online is Elder Scrolls now. Mainline is like dead.
Fallout 76 seems like it's going to be a smaller scale for like it is the 4 times as large. But
on the other hand,
they didn't have to write a story for it because it's going to have no narrative content whatsoever. So like it's a relatively resource light project, I would think. So I could see Starfield releasing sometime like fall winter 2019.
No, but like they said next gen. They said next gen.
Next year.
They said next gen.
I think next gen. I think next gen really kind of refers to.
I didn't get the sense
like their own
the
engine.
Yeah,
I think it's their own engine.
That it was referring to like literally the next generation consoles.
I mean, also though, like rumors are pointing towards next gen starting literally in 2020, and I could easily see that game launching in 2020.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
And I mean,
my takeaway was like that Starfield will be on PlayStation 4.
Oh, I think it will. I just
even
think like,
if it is on new consoles.
I think
the
new consoles are going to be a lot less of a jump. Like they're like now that everything's on like the same architecture and everything, I feel like the consoles are going to be a lot more like they will call it like the PS5, but I don't think it'll be as like abrupt a shift in like how do you develop for this thing as it was for the PS4. You know?
Yeah. But yeah, I my takeaway wasn't console generation. It was
no, that's fair.
It was their engine, like
which they need to change their engine. So like
exactly, yeah. I think that's what it was. I think console generations are becoming kind of an outdated.
I mean, Nintendo's like not even paying attention to them. Like
Nintendo's hasn't been paying attention to console generations since
the Wii U. No, I mean the Wii came out the same year. The Wii came out the same year as PS3, right? I feel like it did.
And then since then they've been off.
Xbox at least.
They've been off because like the Wii U didn't line up.
They had to jump off the Wii U's ship.
And then they really quickly had to jump off the Wii U's ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay, so after that is the Square conference.
That was boring.
Yeah, there's not much of note there. They didn't do any Final Fantasy VII remake stuff, so we just kind of don't know the status
16.
of that. We've had rumors of that being a very fraught production. So
I mean, and honestly, like, I expect to start seeing stuff about 16 fairly soon. Like, there's been lots of rumors about talks about like that they're like semi-active development on 16. So like that could
and those Final Fantasy games show sometimes up to 5 years before the game.
Yeah,
comes
no,
out.
definitely. So like I would not be shocked to see like a 16 teaser next year.
Mm-hmm.
God, I remember how far before 13 came out that it was being teased.
Mm-hmm. No, 15 was like what, 6 years? Was 15 6 years?
Well, wasn't 15 like the one that
versus
got renamed?
13. It was versus
yeah.
13 at first.
Oh yeah.
So like Final Fantasy 15 in like a very different early state had been teased for like a decade or something before it came out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tomb Raider looks good.
Yeah, looks good.
I think it's a very strong looking Tomb Raider.
I like her biceps.
The previous one did.
Yes.
Lara Croft is so dreamy.
God, the girls at this E3 were like really good and muscles, and it was like
the whole Predator-esque jungle vibe is good.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good aesthetic. Eclipses are just objectively fucking cool branding.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think it looks interesting. Just Cause 4?
It looks like a Just Cause game.
Yeah, it really just looks like Just Cause 3 to me. It really does. And Just Cause 3 was
Brooke, didn't you hear? Just Cause 4 has weather. And
weather changes everything.
Grappler.
The seasons change everything.
It's innovative.
It could be good. I think it depends on like what they show of a Just Cause game isn't really kind of. We need to wait until people get their hands on it and say like, oh yeah, there's just way more good fun things to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very much an experiential game, so you sort of need that to judge it.
Definitely.
Platinum Games teased their new
game. That was really cool.
Yeah. That was cool.
That was Medieval, right? Medieval?
Yeah, which is an interesting... Yeah. I don't think Platinum's ever really gone into that space
really,
before.
no.
Platinum's like really branching out lately, though. Mm-hmm. So I think they've got like 4 games in development or something.
I feel like they're always like that, though. Yeah. Like, they would have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, the
these are like big
game.
Actual games and not 5-hour
spin-off IP things.
Yeah.
Licensed games.
The Quiet Man looked
cool.
Absolutely stupid.
It's going to be an FMV game.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Or was that just a...
No, it's good.
Okay.
Like they sort of, details outside the release, like press release.
It's got like a deaf protagonist, which is cool, I guess.
Well, that was really it, wasn't it, for Square?
And the combat it was kind of tough because there was like a lot of cutting in the trailer, but the combat looked pretty dang weighty and kinetic, so that was at least promising. And I do like the ambition of going with trying to like bring back FMV games.
Yeah.
No, FMV games are already back.
Oh, of
they
course.
Have been for like
we had Super Seducer, the revival of a genre.
No, for real. FMV games, there have been some really interesting indie FMV games for like 3 or 4 years now.
Has there been like a brawler style though? Like,
no,
I feel
not
like that's
Not like that. It's typically just FMV cutscenes in indie games.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. There's been a few that were pretty cool for that. But yeah, no, Square was like weak.
But yeah, very
Ubisoft
empty. But Ubisoft, I mean, one of the most interesting things was Division 2. For one, the gameplay segment was like terrible, and the combat was so slow paced. Like, I can't believe they showed that off because it's not enticing in the least. It was immensely dull. Like, for
cover
their
shooters
selected
just are
action
boring.
Scene.
Legitimately, the first Division had a better show.
Showing. No, it looked cool.
Yeah,
they like showed off a bunch
of
the
first
gadgets,
Division looked really cool,
and it was more like tonal, I think. But the sort of more interesting talking point, I think, is like America has fallen into a civil war.
But it's apolitical, though.
The fucking interview excerpt. Where is that? Do you remember where I posted that?
Was in general. Was in general in our Discord here.
I'll check back. There was an.
It was NVIDIA.
Doesn't look. You can talk, but there's an interview with one of the developers. That was hilarious.
Yeah. Okay. Here it is. Okay. Wait a minute. It's in DC. Yes. Your central character here on the key art has an American flag bandana tied to their backpack. That's correct. This is not a political statement. Absolutely not. Taking up arms against a corrupt government is not a political statement. No, it's not a political statement. No, we are absolutely here to explore a new city.
It is such a David Cage interview.
It is.
Yeah.
No, The Division 2 was a stinker.
I hope it's David Cage, and they're just lying, and then in game there's actual quotes from real revolutionaries or something, and it's just a lie.
I don't think it will be. I think there's just fucking AAA weird apolitical.
I mean, it is apolitical in the fact that game was designed by a committee.
We are envisioning an American civil war in which no one's motivations and ideological stances are political whatsoever. It's just I want water. Division.
There is a division.
Are all the factions literally just I want control? They're just but we have no goals. It's just I want control.
Yeah, Division 2 just screams to me just it's just production by committee, right? It was okay, let's hit fucking what do people like? Action movies. What are action movies like? Okay, cool. We need apocalypse, right? We need a virus. Okay, what do people like? Guns, shooting. We call that game The Division, so what if there was a civil war? Yeah, America divided. Get it? Division. Yeah, of course this game's apolitical because it's not going to say anything of value.
I thought the first Division was relatively unsuccessful, and so this...
No, it was successful. It was just not particularly popular.
I looked it up, and it broke a first day sales record stuff with a few caveats, of course. Let's to spin it to give them the number, but it sold.
It would have sold it would have sold probably 7-8 million if I had to guess.
Probably something around that.
So in spite of everyone sort of that I ever heard talk about it saying it's kind of shit, a bunch of people bought it. I guess it just appeals.
It showed really well.
Appeals to a broad just run around in a post-disaster city with your crew, shooting bad bandits and being good paramilitary guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, which some people just want to do that to entertain themselves. So whatever.
Okay, let's move on. Again, we talk about the games that do not deserve this much airtime too much.
The big highlight of the Ubisoft conference was, of course, Assassin's Creed, and specifically Assassin's Creed romance options, and specifically Assassin's Creed lesbian romance options.
To me, the big part of that whole thing is I think it's genuinely impressive that they went out of their way to give a male and female choice in a really story-driven
game. Especially considering how expensive it is to animate female characters. The budget invested in that.
No, but I mean that is a good meme. It's a good meme.
It's the most low-hanging meme, but it's because it's fucking good.
Yeah, it's. I think it's just not expected. It's extra mile for sure, right?
No, 100%.
Yeah, and I think it's a good touch. No one was I don't think anyone was up in arms oh, why no female Assassin's Creed character after Origins, because they just had that in Syndicate, and Origins did have a pretty inclusive main character. So
I mean, they're it makes sense. They did this basically pro bono RPG, and the further you go RPG, the more you kind of need to include gender options.
Yeah,
but,
you're right. Because the last game included richer combat system and like skill trees and XP and like loots.
It did it well, to be honest,
and all that.
I've heard really good things about Origins.
I think the worst thing about this entire game is that it's coming out a year after Origins. Like, for real, I think they built something strong with Origins. They built a really strong roadmap for themselves, and they are going to kill all of that momentum by going back to yearly.
Yeah, no,
like Origins took
assuming
some people
they
like 100 hours to beat.
Go
That's longer than
yearly.
all the Assassin's Creeds.
Yeah,
assuming they like go yearly and aren't just like, because this one is like a similar setting, they are able to like make this, but then like they'll give 2 years to the next one. Like that's what I'd hope would happen.
It's got to be 2 years apart. 2 years apart is, I think, is perfect.
You know, they gave extra time to develop Origins, and I think the assumption was, because Assassin's Creed is a bit more played out and stale, like from now on they're gonna space them out a bit more. But what it seemed like they may have actually been doing is just giving themselves extra time to sort of revamp the engine and the core gameplay loop and all that. But now, like, with this new style of Assassin's Creed built, they will now go back
if Origins
to
was delayed
with it.
If Origins was maybe pushed back internally, it maybe does make sense. I do hope that we do not have an Assassin's Creed at next year's E3. I really hope not. I hope they give this Assassin's Creed time to sit, because I do think this Assassin's Creed is going to sell well, because they have built themselves up some momentum with Origins. People are genuinely excited for this Assassin's Creed. I am, to be perfectly honest.
Lesbian.
Yeah.
Not even for that, because I'll be perfectly honest, I don't make purchasing decisions of $60 games based on something like that. Because
okay, I'm sorry for being a bad person.
Than you, Brooke.
It's just because, like, you know, it's not. I just feel like it's just. It really depends. It so much depends on like the scale, because if it was like an indie game, I'll drop it in a heartbeat, right?
Yeah.
But for like a AAA game, it's such a money investment.
No,
so there's got to be more. If it was just a game where like, hey, pay fucking £50, which is a lot of fucking money for a game, and it's got a lesbian protagonist, but it's bad. It's a bad game.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know,
I couldn't do that.
I do want the game to be good.
I trust Assassin's Creed to deliver a thoroughly playable experience, if nothing else, and a thoroughly playable experience as a lesbian. As a hot Grecian lesbian.
She's really hot.
Oh yeah, she is hot. She is hot, for sure. Hottest E3 girl?
I think she is.
Sure. Yeah.
I think she is.
Lara Croft.
Lara Croft is a little more generic to me and loses points in that regard. Like, she is sort of the perfect woman, but she's the generic perfect woman, and as such is not actually perfect.
She's not quite as...
She's not as generic as she used to be.
That too. She's a little more femme.
Which, you know, is very personal interest and not something that can be generalized. Also, I like the slightly darker skin color of Assassin's Creed compared to Lara Croft. Yeah,
for sure.
Get out, Whitey. Okay. There was someone who noted, who was like more conservative, but I guess like if Assassin's Creed is gonna have gay stuff and like threesomes and, you know, all that sexual debauchery, it makes sense for the Greece game to be the one with that, because like that's very
100%.
Definitely.
Yeah, 100% for sure. I hope we get to meet Sappho.
Yo, if we get to, does that fit the time? Does that actually, was she alive?
I don't think it matters in Assassin's Creed game, to be perfectly honest.
She was definitely not alive. She was definitely not alive during the Peloponnesian Wars, but I don't care. Somehow get her in there.
Is Sappho a servant in Fate yet?
I don't think so. No. I don't think so. All the servants are bi. There's like no gay servants.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, she's not.
I did find out that Da Vinci is canon trans.
Yeah,
I've been playing Fate.
Yes,
we'll talk about that on the main podcast.
She is very good.
Yeah. Okay, back to E3.
Anything
Beyond
else?
Good and Evil 2 had a really strong... Yeah, there's more. Beyond Good and Evil 2 had a really strong trailer.
Yeah. Oh, it was real cool.
I think that game's got an interesting aesthetic.
Definitely, yeah. No, a lot of character to it for sure. And in spite of the discourse it arouses, I do think that like it could be potentially really cool for the game to have that sort of crowd-funded art assets, because that would give it this very multicultural feel, in like a literal sense. There's a whole bunch of creative minds coming together and forming the pastiche of all the murals on the
so
walls.
They have confirmed that
they get paid for their stuff.
That they get paid. They have confirmed, and I think he said that they'd paid out over
$3 million
so many
since
years.
their founding.
$3 million.
$3 million.
Yeah,
which isn't a ton. I don't know. Like,
I still have some problems with the way it seems to be set up. There hasn't been enough detail, which is kind of a problem. But,
a lack of detail and clarity is fertile grounds for exploitation.
But I'm skeptical of it since I fairly focused on, I don't know, exposure, which is not totally for exposure.
Yeah.
I don't want to mischaracterize it, but it's
the various interplanetary radio stations are going to have a whole bunch of SoundCloud rappers.
No matter what, I see no way that they get compensated the amount that would be fairly equivalent for if they did the amount of work they do while a salaried employee. I just don't.
Yeah, I do get that. I do get that. I think that is. It's one of those things, right, where it's like there's a sweet spot. There's definitely enough. There's definitely too little, and where do we cross that line, right? Mm-hmm. And I think, from what I've heard, they're gonna get paid. I think we'll probably end up being in a very grey zone between those two.
Yeah, and I think you have to submit before you get paid, which is kind of it makes sense, but it also is there will be a lot of people doing work that they're not going to get paid for if it doesn't get chosen, which is not the case if you're actually hired, because you just would bring your portfolio. You wouldn't draw new stuff for them.
Yeah.
I don't know. The idea is cool. I'm just very worried about the implementation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do think,
and the game looks good.
Yeah, I do. I want to be optimistic about their awareness of how much of a problem that could be for them if they don't handle it properly.
The creators of the game look really cool. When they announced it at last year's E3, they were in genuine tears about it, and then their mic stayed on a little bit after they left the stage, so you heard them say in what was not supposed to be a public moment, yes, we nailed it. There was
I definitely don't think there's
but
any malice or
the dude
anything.
Who owns that service felt kinda like Silicon Valley skeevy entrepreneur.
Wait, are you talking about Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
Yeah.
Okay, you do know that Joseph Gordon-Levitt is a famous actor.
Yeah, no, I know that. I recognize him.
Okay, just checking, because you were talking about him like you didn't know who he was, and I'm like,
no, I mean I don't know the names of actors because I don't watch American Western stuff.
I don't watch 3D shit.
I just watch Nihongo no
2D girls
cartoons.
only.
Well, 2D girls accept me only.
But yeah, he just felt like someone I wouldn't trust as a tech company head to be overly concerned about workers' rights. Yeah, that was just the vibe I got.
He is very Silicon Valley. I do get you. Moving on, new Trials game. I like Trials games. That trailer made me install Trials Fusion. I've been playing through that. Trials is good. Trials Man is genuinely delightful.
I'll be back in a bit.
Okay.
We'll just keep powering on, I guess.
Yeah. Unless we have a game she really wants to talk about, which I'll tell you, and we'll see.
Is it Mario and Rabbids?
No.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. I genuinely like genuinely like the relationship that Ubisoft is building with Nintendo.
Yeah, no, I think it's really cool. It's not something like Nintendo ever did before this. They were
no, they did, because there was the Rare thing.
That's
with
true,
Donkey Kong Country.
That's true.
The Mario Party games are third party as well.
But like, Rare was not. I mean, yeah, that it is true, but like Rare was not developing games that are like half Nintendo property, half like their own, the way the Ubisoft one is going.
True, yeah.
Because Ubisoft's like already like a huge developer. Like, I mean, they're big enough that they have an EA or an E3 press conference. Like, they have their own like Uplay, you know, so they're pretty big.
Yeah.
So that, like, to have someone like them doing stuff with Nintendo, I think is definitely interesting and cool.
And they nailed it with Mario plus Rabbids.
Yeah, great things.
So perfectly on beat, on tone.
Trans culture this week is not being
doing
able
that
to sit
week.
through an entire podcast recording without having to go use the bathroom because Spiro's a
I
bitch.
used that once, except not the Spiro part, but I just say that.
Okay.
We're just talking about how wholesome the Ubisoft plus Nintendo.
Yeah, no, I love
pairing
their
is.
Star Fox thing this year. Like that's going to be a recurring thing, just some Ubisoft Nintendo crossover-y thing.
It's good. I think it's a really good opportunity to expand the Nintendo library into new areas.
And the developer was obviously like so excited to be able to do Star Fox
I
stuff.
think there was so much
Ubisoft is good at getting those
love
genuine moments
poured into Mario plus Rabbids. There really was so much love, so much reverence. Yeah, you could tell, like, the team, like, I feel like the team working on that game must have felt like they were entrusted with, like, a fucking papal relic. It's like, we have to touch, like, don't touch this thing with your hands, it will corrode it. You must only use a fine microfiber cloth to touch the artifact. Like, it was so lovingly handled. Yeah. So hopefully that, I really hope that grows into a long-term
relationship,
mutually beneficial, positive relationship.
The only thing I'm wondering is Fox going to appear in like the Xbox and PlayStation versions of the?
I don't believe so. So the way it seemed like it was going to work is, you get him into the game through a special Fox, like whatever the title of the game is, amiibo.
Okay,
no, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I mean, because the whole conceit
it would be
of
weird
the game
for them
is
to
that
like
it's,
put it on like
it'll
other consoles.
it'll sell most on Switch anyway.
it's
for
a
sure.
toys to
definitely.
life game. So like as sort of kind of gross as it would be to like have to pay to get a given character in a like game normally like that. The whole conceit of the game is that you pay to get things in the games. Like it works, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly I think that business model is more ethical than microtransactions, because when you're done playing the game, you have toys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you also know
basically.
what you're paying for up front. If it's loot box microtransactions.
Exactly. It's by far more ethical now I think about it than loot boxes.
Yeah. There are non-loot box microtransactions.
Skull and Bones looks pretty interesting.
Yeah, that was teased at last year's E3, and it seems like probably a multiplayer only, like open world
Yes, it will be.
pirate
I
shippy
imagine relatively budget. Not a full
probably.
price game like Sea of Thieves. I think it's the Assassin's Creed tech.
Yeah, yeah.
That would make sense.
No.
I heard great things about For's
Black Flag.
ship stuff.
Really good. Yeah.
Yeah, the Sea of Thieves sort of delivered on what some people would want out of a pirate game, which is like being able to go off of the pirate ship and like walk around and explore islands and like dig
and
up
the
treasure,
looting
but didn't
and the
deliver
sailing.
on like being good,
combat.
which is also part of what people want. So Black.
So one of my favorite 4-player experiences I've ever had was a game called Guns of Icarus. Which was a 4 versus 4 versus 4 versus 4 versus however many gunship game, where you literally had each gunship had a pilot, 2 gunners, and a mechanic, and it was, I think it was, it had a lot of potential that it kind of squandered by not going free to play.
Yeah.
If that game had gone free to play, it could have really been something. I think they did do a lot of stuff through. God, I want to say it was back when it was Polaris with a lot of the Polaris YouTubers.
Yeah, no, there was
back in the day.
Was this like gunship as in like sci-fi gunship, or gunship as in like pirate
like
wood on sea
like
gunship?
A blimp Zeppelin.
Okay, because there was like a few years ago, which sort of preceded the big pirate interest that we're seeing now with both Sea of Thieves and Skull and Bones. There was like an early access pirate ship fighting game that was also like a lot of YouTubers played that like in a manner that made you suspect the developer was sponsoring them because it would feel weird otherwise, unless they just all thought it would get good views.
So I hope that Skull and Bones kind of fills my Guns of Icarus itch there. I would prefer to be flying gunships than airships, I should say, than
pirate ships.
Pirate ships. But I'll take pirate ships. Pirate ships are kind of cool too. Transference is a creepy VR game, which Elijah Wood is making.
Yes, yeah, that was also teased at last year's E3, and Elijah Wood's connection to it was mentioned
Elijah
there.
Wood when his teleprompter messed up. Did you see that moment where his teleprompter messed up and he was like mid-sentence he just went, "Oh no!"
Oh right,
and then looked like tried to find a new teleprompter.
Yeah, he found a new one. He got like I do remember that he got back on track pretty quickly. Who was the guys who didn't? Was it the short and tall guy? Yeah, it was the Yowie boys from the Bethesda conference.
The Yowie boys.
Because one was like a foot taller than the other, so like you just have to ship them because of the gap. And it was the taller guy. Like must have been like the teleprompter went out when he was speaking in Big Beard. And like he just stood there for literally like 10-15 seconds, just like shrugging or like thumbs upping the audience. He was totally lost. That was like the big like E3 slip up moment this year.
There was a mic that went out, and then one
on the
guy
PC
like
gaming show.
Dude.
That was cool. That was fun because like Sean's great and he improvised it well.
Okay. That's the Star Fox thing. For Honor's getting Chinese faction, which makes sense. I think they're trying to push into the Chinese market, and China's just got cool fucking martial kind of aesthetics anyway.
And also it's free if you like just like download Uplay and like buy, but not buy because it's free, claim the game for your account for like the next week or so. Make sure to get on that, everyone, if you want it free forever.
I might do that, actually. I might do that.
Because you just get to keep it.
I've heard good things about For Honor. A lot of the guys at my last job played it.
Yeah,
I've heard
there were some issues with it.
Fun fighting game.
Connectivity complaints, balance complaints, and like the game did sort of fall off and like lose a lot of its player base. It didn't sustain itself well. But they're obviously trying to reinvigorate that player base by giving away the starter edition for free. And hopefully it works out for them.
Yeah. Okay, so that's everything for Ubisoft. Finally, the last conference, Sony. And then after we've talked about Sony, I think each of us is going to talk about
Nintendo? What about Nintendo, bro?
Oh yeah, well there's Nintendo, which is okay. We can do that now. I'm very curious about Fire Emblem on Switch. I think that is a match made in heaven.
I think showing like actual armies does like a lot to make the game more interesting to look at,
more innovative.
Like okay, fucking just having like all these solo units of like anime characters is kind of like weird, whereas having them like all command lower like other troops makes it a lot more. It makes it feel more like actual battles are taking place. It increases
the scale of the battlefield to unforeseen
levels. Does, but stop.
It reduces the Ludo narrative dissonance.
Yeah, so...
Good mouthfeel.
I don't know, it looks cool, I guess.
Yeah.
The delay's
and then
kind
Smash,
of lame,
which is funny. For as much as they showed, there's not that much to say.
Whoa. Not just Smash. Hey, what about Daemon X Machina?
Oh, yeah. That game really didn't interest me much because it's like a mech combat game, which not my thing. But it looked cool. It was a very new vibe from the
I'll do the best to take Jackie's place here. Okay, so from what I understand, it's an armored... It's like the lead designer is from like a multiple Armored Core, which, you know, FromSoft mech game. From multiple Armored Core games, and the mech designs are by Shoji Kawamori, who... our listeners would probably best know as the designer of Macross, but
they'd probably best know him as the designer of the Cowboy Bebop ships or the original Transformers designs.
You're probably right, but you know, Macross.
He's most like iconic / important / what have you for the Macross designs, yeah, which predate all those other ones.
And like the Macross
series
existence.
As a whole. Yeah.
Is it really Macross and not Macross?
I mean, it's Makurosu.
I guess it would be closer to
Macross.
Macross, yeah.
It would be like Macross.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that.
I just say because like macros.
Macross.
Making that sound is awkward in English, so I say say Macross.
You can do either or. You're going to be like incorrect with whichever of the two natural manners of saying it you go with.
My cross.
So yeah, for people who like mech combat, which is me, well enough, it looks fun. It looks good.
Sure.
The art style's cool. Like, it's slightly cel shaded. It's good looking game.
Yeah. Was there anything on
Nintendo?
Sure.
It was a very kinetic trailer.
Was there anything?
And Smash.
Mario Party was the only other thing.
Mario Party.
Mario Party. It's cool. It looks like Mario Party. There you go.
The fact that you can like connect.
Do we have much to say about Smash?
Okay.
I have a decent amount.
Yeah. Okay, but like Zeria's a pro Smash player, so she.
I'm
likes
not a pro.
Game.
Please do not give them false ideas.
She's a very pro Smash player. She's very pro.
I'm an anti-Smash player.
I really like the decision to bring back every character from every Smash game. I think it's cool and
I think
good.
it sets a weird precedent for the next one.
No, like they definitely like can't not do that in the future.
Well, either they have to like do that again. Like they can't do like most of the characters back. They either have to do that again or like scale back to like 25 or something. Like go way.
Which is what Street Fighter 5 did, and people weren't happy.
Yeah, it's
like, oh my god, who was like who wasn't in
Sakura?
There was like some really fundamental characters who were not in launch Street Fighter 5. I want to say like maybe Chun-Li or
no, Chun-Li was. Chun-Li definitely
DLC
was.
characters. Yeah.
Oh god, Akuma wasn't.
I mean, you can. Street Fighter 5's DLC method was pretty like forgiving, but compared to other fighting games, which is buy a new $60 game for 4 new characters.
But yeah, because I mean, whoever you do and do not bring back, there's going to be people who have a given character that they are really invested in that does not come back. And I mean, it's one of the bigger talking points during any given Smash release, like which characters are getting axed, you know?
Yeah.
And it feels bad, you know, it's sad. So it's really cool and exciting to just know that everyone's going to get to be happy, at least, you know, in terms of character selection here.
Yeah, unlike Fallout, I'm not going to be an angry, bitter person. Because I don't need to. I've already accepted that I'm not getting
ambitious crossover event in history.
I mean, I've accepted that I'm not literally getting Melee again, so like I'm happy to see what we actually are getting.
I think it's really important that this is received well.
Yeah.
I think it's...
Yeah.
I mean, it's their big game of the year. So like...
Also, I think it is like relatively tough to thoroughly mess up Smash. Because like a lot...
They did it twice.
A lot of what people want
they did,
is just
but
what's
like
core
those
to
are still
Smash.
super popular games.
Yeah.
Like Brawl was super popular at the time.
There
Smash
is a
4
specific
is super
subset
popular.
of some of the most devoted Smash fans who will be pretty upset unless you do a very, very specific thing, which is make Melee again. Like, use that combat engine and system and style and all that.
I mean, even that's not enough. I mean, like, I'm just gonna, like, rat out myself here. Project M, which is, like, literally, like, has the exact same mechanics. There's still a lot of people, including myself, who prefer Melee because of very, very minute differences that will never get replicated ever again. So, like, there's no point even trying to really make those people happy. Because it's just not going to happen.
It's just like,
don't bother to make me happy. It's not going to happen.
They've been playing this specific game in like a competitive context for 15 years now, and they just want the game to play exactly like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that they were releasing the new GameCube controllers. It's like what, the USB port or whatever.
Yes, don't let them die. That's the biggest thing about this game to me, because Melee. Yeah. We're like, constantly like, oh, what if we run out of GameCube controllers soon? Actually, but like, thankfully they bring back
global stock of GameCube controllers, and like when those run out, we can't play Melee anymore because we'll be out of controllers. It's like a rare earth resource. Like you'd have to jigger it obviously to like get the USB controllers like compatible with a GameCube, but like someone will figure out that little piece of tech and
for sure.
make an adapter and. Melee will
I don't think the new ones are USB. I think they're plugged into the old port like they used to.
I looked at the cord and it's not. I don't think it's old port.
It is.
They said they said the Wii U or the Wii whatever like.
So you can use like current like older GameCube.
You can
use
original
adapter.
GameCube controllers and adapt it. That's compatible. But the ones they are producing are like they used a modern controller socket.
No, that makes sense. You could definitely like change things so that the USB one runs like on the Wii, since you can play Melee on a Wii, of course. So like yes, I'm actually incredibly excited, literally because of that news, because I was legit worried that like we'd run out of GameCube controllers, and now we won't.
Not for like that day will be delayed much further.
Yeah.
Yes. Like it will still happen eventually, but it's been put off. Yeah.
Let's should we crack open Sony?
Yes.
Wait, I want to mention also the other conference, the PC Gaming Show. It was really cool. It's sort of like the purest of the conferences, I think, in a lot of ways, because it is the most
world exclusive.
Well, it's just exclusive, lots of exclusives, but also like just game after game. Like here's a game trailer, and like usually they're trailers that are showing like legitimate like stuff about the game, so we'll have a good idea.
Quite a few of my hypest things came from that conference.
Things from that show, just because like there's so many things to get through, and a lot of them are like smaller scale and indies and what have you. Or like
we'll definitely cherry pick towards
there are things that are coming out like this year, right? You know, because if you're not coming out this year, you're not like building a big multi-year hype marketing thing like your Ubisoft games are, right?
Because they're not like massive publishers; they're just
doing it the E3
developers
of the year you're coming out, and so that's cool. And also just the hosts are great. Sean Plott, who's an old StarCraft guy, who's really fun, really cool. Anna, I'm sure, could go on about him because he's great. And then I loved the female host they had too. They like cut back and forth between the two of them. Specifically, the highlight for me was there's a shark action RPG where you play as a shark and like level up and have skill trees and what have you. It's called Maneater. And
Sable.
What was that?
Sable, yes, Sable. Very good.
No, I'm talking about the zinger. Hold on, I know I'm building up for a while.
Okay, I'll let you.
So,
well, you know, it's already been 2 hours, sweetie. So, like, Sean don't build up for too long.
He cut over to her to do the next game, and she said, "Wow, Maneater! I can't believe they named a game after my favorite weekend activity."
It was a pretty good moment. It was very, it felt very Aisha Tyler to me.
Yeah, I did, like...
Someone needs to carry on that torch.
Just, the ability of a woman to also make, like, sexual humor, like, about her own sexuality. It's cool. But yeah, the other big highlight for me was Sable, because its art style is literally the best thing ever, and I love this game.
Yeah. I like the look of Noita, which is a really interesting pixel art game where all the pixels seem to be physically simulated. So the stages just disintegrate into just tasty looking pixel madness. and 2 Point Hospital, which like 2 Point Hospital is my Kingdom Hearts. Just the pure fucking nostalgia machine for me.
Also,
those are my PC gamer picks. We can't talk about everything. Those too many games.
Sable has a soundtrack by Japanese Breakfast. It's like this sort of like artsy, shoegazy indie rock girl. So that's really cool too. Like the trailer is an audiovisual experience, for sure.
Yeah.
But now,
okay.
At last, Sony.
So start it off like they did with Last of Us.
Okay, so
sorry, we have 6 more minutes of banjo before we get to Last of Us. Okay, I'm sorry about that.
Lachlan, we it's been 2 hours. I have other things to do tonight. Please.
Just 10 more minutes of banjo. We're almost there.
Oh, don't worry. After that, there's 10 minutes of big kazoo. I don't know what that instrument's called.
A lot of people complain about it, but I do actually. I like live music, so I enjoyed those segments, like at least from a musical standpoint.
It was the weird waiting thing that was the problem, not the music itself.
We'll get into that after, though.
So the scene that Last of Us's trailer started on. Okay,
the other most hyped moment of E3.
Yeah. I mean, unironic. It was an amazing moment. I didn't even... I mean, just I'll get out of the way. I don't care about like the Last of Us combat. Like I thought it was a little too brutal.
Third-person cover shootery.
That and
that's like if it's too brutal for you, fair enough. Absolutely.
The violence
yeah, no, I don't mean like.
I'm getting a little. I don't know. There's. I think with my timeline in particular, there's a lot of people very negative on the violence of Last of Us 2.
Yeah, I don't think it's like inherently.
Or just the Last of Us in general.
Although I do find it a little awkward when the cloud like claps when you.
Oh, that was weird. That was weird. You're not supposed to like that. That game doesn't want you to feel good about what you're doing.
Yeah, no.
Consistently makes you like playing Last of Us is really not a particularly pleasant experience, but it's a really powerful one. The combat is so viscerally like. I'll try and stay away from a buzzword to describe it. It's just so personal. You know what I mean? It's such it's basically a game that feels like the fucking sniper stabbing scene in Saving Private Ryan, where it's just you and one other dude, and one of you's got to go. You know? Yeah, it's really powerful and like meaningful, like, and really integral to that whole experience in a way that like almost I don't think violence in any other game means as much as it does in The Last of Us.
No,
I think like,
the Yoko Taro
unless it's
games,
like the opposite end of the spectrum with Doom.
No,
Yoko Taro games, I feel like the violence means a lot.
Yeah.
But
and I also think like there's probably too much violence in The Last of Us for the violence to mean more than it does in any other game, because like the impact violence has when you aren't like numbed to it, to like you do mow down like dozens of just relatively random
that was a huge complaint with the
people.
First game, and I hope I want them to legitimately make every single enemy harder and way fewer of them.
You kill enough humans who have like literally no character to them, just like relatively mindlessly, AI in the first game, that I feel there is a higher ceiling to those sort of heights of depth and meaning you can reach with violence.
Okay, yes. But so, however, this was all a tangent from the actual part of the trailer that got me excited, which is the opening scene.
We were nervous at first because it seemed like maybe like it was going to hit Ellie up with his dude. Like, are they going to make Ellie bi? Don't make Ellie bi. Don't do that to me.
Yeah, okay, bi is good, but like
having
being bi after like
lesbian to like
who got killed to like
kill her lesbian girlfriend,
suddenly like being with a guy. That's bad. That's problematic. Even if like being brought established. I kind of want establish the character as like bi before, like don't kill off their like romantic options with their own gender and then be like, hey, they're bi actually. Like it's kind of. Anyways, that doesn't matter because that's not what they did.
But it didn't do it. It faked us out.
Yes, they totally faked us out, and show, and then like got the body language was so perfect. It was so perfect.
Yeah, I mean that's the Naughty Dog special, to be honest. You know,
and like,
they're always so good at that.
It was really like just it let the scene breathe. It was good and like intimate. It was good.
Yeah,
we're just gonna like be dying over lesbians because there's nothing else to do.
I'm gonna be honest. I have a lot of faith in this game.
Yeah, I have a lot of faith in those.
I replayed through the first Last of Us again.
I'll play The Last of Us 1 so that I can get the lesbian stuff. Like unironically, I'm sure.
The PS4
I mean,
version holds up.
If I thought it was going to be a bad game, I obviously wouldn't do that.
Yeah, like the only complaint I really have about that series is the first game is probably too long. I think it's like a 15-hour game. Could have been 8, no problem.
It was a good kiss. It was a really good kiss.
It was a really good kiss, which is impressive because games are really bad at that.
Normally, they're bad at like showing sexual stuff. Yeah.
Again, Naughty Dog special, like character animation.
I love the Polygon reaction to the Sony conference because it's 2 guys and a girl there. I believe her name's Simone. Is the Polygon girl who was there, and so they're reacting to the trailer, and she just like starts talking about how hot Ellie's girlfriend is. And then like screeches, and when they kiss, like takes a giant sip of her water and starts fanning herself. Like not theatrically, just she is trying to cope with that and like remain somewhat presentable for stream. It's great.
Every gay is a disaster. It's just the universal truth. Okay, let's keep on track with time here. Yes. We talked about Ghost of Tsushima.
Wait, we need a 15-second segue.
Watch
Big kazoo. I don't know what that instrument's called.
We already talked about it, but I do want to mention one point, which is that battle with like the leaves fall, like the red, beautiful leaves falling and like the sun setting and stuff was really pretty. It was really pretty.
Yeah, it did look good.
Tad worried
Control is an interesting looking game from Remedy.
Okay, no time to talk.
Control? Yeah, Control looks cool. Control definitely looks interesting.
Look cool. I hope it's a smaller, cheaper product because they've just come off Quantum Break, which was a big flop.
Yeah.
I hope it's kind of Remedy. They did Alan Wake.
Okay, right.
And Max Payne.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Resident Evil 2 Remaster is a big Jackie winner. I'd say maybe the thing I saw Jackie talking about the most. I have no.
Yeah, I've never played Resident Evil.
It looks amazing.
I'm happy for the people who like Resident Evil.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's kind of weird
that is
like,
the kind of remaster that everyone
something that's
dreams
been in
of.
the works for so long. Like it's not like a sequel where it's okay they're developing it, or it's just like a remake, which should be relatively straightforward at the least to be so.
I think they also announced they announced it like when 2015. I think it was 2015.
Yeah, a little while ago for sure.
I couldn't tell you. Kingdom Hearts 3 got some more screen time here.
Yeah, okay.
We've talked about
let's just
enough.
move on.
Death Stranding. Showed gameplay for the first time.
Stuff showed, yeah.
Yeah, showed gameplay for the first time. Gorgeous environments, very quiet, subtle, or muted gameplay. Like just walking, traversing, existing in that world, really unique looking
cargo
equipment and tech.
Yeah.
I loved like the one thing in the whole thing that just really I was amazed by was the crossing the chasm with the ladder, which was such a weird aesthetic conclusion, but I just love it.
I mean, Lachlan and I were hoping, and it didn't actually come true. We were hoping that this was just like the biggest budget walking simulator of all time.
I would be over the moon.
I mean, I was kind of
was.
meaning there.
I actually wanted that. I actually wanted
that. A 10-hour walking simulator experience cut in. Like if it was 5 hours of cutscenes, 5 hours of walking simulator, and it was just 100% Hideo Kojima.
No
just
combat.
Off the completely unscripted. There will be combat because we saw a gun.
No, I'm saying like it would be so cool if like there was no combat.
yeah. Just trying to avoid the monsters, you know. I'd be over the moon for that. I really would be.
But it still looks great as it is.
It does. It honestly looks better than I was expecting. Like, I think the second trailer, the one with Mads Mikkelsen, was very like tanks and skeleton soldiers and very military looking. I was expecting something more kind of third person shootery, more generic kind of looking. I was so there for that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely like the aesthetic's great. It's gonna look good. It looks good.
It does look good.
And like just actually getting gameplay, like having a vague sense of like what kind of game it even is like a big step forward.
Yeah, and I have the biggest Iceland boner, and it looks really Icelandy.
Big win. Definitely does.
Neo 2, good. I'm glad they're making a follow-up to that because it was good.
I still need to play the first, but it looks like something that would be very much my speed. So
yeah.
So
Spider-Man.
Much Souls, so much Japanese Souls now.
Well, I mean, the Souls series seems like it's going to be taking a break for a while.
Well,
so
no, definitely. I just like
games.
There's going to be like 2 early 2019 Souls-like set in Japan is kind of like
and
interesting.
Do you think the FromSoft game's is going to be a Souls-like?
I don't think it's going to. I think it's close enough to Souls to be called Souls-like as like a genre description, even if it's not like
Souls adjacent.
Like I'm using Souls like more as like a I think Souls like it'll fit in enough senses that I feel like it's a term that like if you can call like 2D games like Salt and Sanctuary Souls likes, then I think you can probably call Sekiro a Souls like.
Okay. Hollow Knight, by the way, got shown.
Yes, great game, fantastic game. I need to go buy that on the Switch like
solid
now.
Souls-like. Souls-like Metroidvania, great combo.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Great combo.
Go buy it.
Spider-Man looks interesting.
Basically what we want out of the Spider-Man game.
Yeah, basically, I didn't see what I wanted until afterwards when they were actually like showing you off in like the city. I much prefer Spider-Man games when you're like swinging around and like that big action set pieces with like all these villains. That's what that looked great once they actually did show it. They just didn't show it in the trailer because like
it looks to me like Marvel would just pointed at the Arkham Batman games and said, we want one of them. And they hired a very, very competent game developer and gave them the budget they needed to make it happen.
Which,
looks like a really exciting Spider-Man game.
Good idea. Combat might have a tad more depth than Arkham just because you can like do cool web things.
Arkham is like super basic combat wise, so like it would not be hard.
There's different ways of like.
It's really satisfying though. I mean that Batman.
Oh yeah, no, like the feel of it's great.
I mean, there was a like an unscripted moment in Batman Arkham City where a dude was right up next to a wall, and I literally just punched like there's like a really crazy flying punched him. His head didn't move; it just sandwiched his my fist sandwiched his head between the wall. And he just slumped down unconscious. It was such a good unscripted moment. That combat system was good. Really overdone now, though, so it's good that they're not following it. And then lastly, From Software is making a VR game, which is definitely not a Miyazaki product.
Which is definitely a lesbian product.
Okay, it's probably not actually. Lilies had a different meaning in Victorian.
It's true.
Britain than they did in modern Japan.
Yeah,
but it looks cool. I don't exactly know what it is, and I don't own PSVR, so it's not like I can actually play it. But
there's a decent number of the VR games that you can like play not in VR. So hopefully this is one of them, so we can experience it even with our lack of virtual reality technology.
So the only thing on my notes that we didn't cover are 2 games from the PC conference, which are both taxi games, which look pretty cool. One looks very much in the vein of like Valhalla. Hopefully those are cool. Right, so that's pretty much it. We did it. We did a full E3, more or less. Surprised we actually managed to do that without going for like 5 hours. we were honestly more concise. Like, we went 2 hours, but we were honestly quite concise in the amount of games.
Yeah, there was a lot at E3.
Yeah.
So.
I think the only thing left is our top 5s.
So yeah, I'm going to start with Jackie's. Jackie dropped theirs in the recording chat. It's a top 6, but they weren't told about a top 5 format. So so Jackie is really focusing on Resident Evil 2, Devil May Cry 5, Cyberpunk 2077, Doom Eternal, Metal Wolf Chaos, which I guess was like pre-announced. I don't know if it got shown anywhere, but I think it counts.
It was shown, I believe, at the Devolver Digital show, which we forgot to go over.
Oh, I didn't even watch that.
Yeah,
I should go and check that out.
It's a fun time. Yeah, they've been doing their thing for a little while.
That's the
now.
second year, I think.
Yeah, and like they got an overarching narrative to it now. They set up like a cliffhanger for next year's E3. So,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I appreciate what they do with their conferences.
Yeah, it's real fun.
And Daemon X Machina for Jackie. I mean, big surprise, the mechs. Yeah.
Jackie's taste is really good and adorable. It's like the slightly edgy
I think
stuff
it is.
that is like really irreverent and goofy and fun. All like outside of Cyberpunk 2077, which we don't have like a complete grasp of what its tone exactly will be like yet. All the other games are like in that very specific tonal mode.
Yeah.
And it's very good.
Well, actually, I think Cyberpunk 2077 showed us that's all they did show us was their tone and aesthetic. I think gameplay is going on faith at this point, just from their pedigree.
Yeah, we didn't get like super, like we don't know how goofy it will be, or like how serious it will be, or like how dark it will be. I think, in terms of those tonal elements. I think the sort of what we did get on Cyberpunk 2077 is still relatively vague.
Oh yeah, I mean, to me it was literally just like
the aesthetic is really good.
A taster, like a sample. Just here is the world we are making, the vibe we're going for,
and because of
to
CD
me, that's what I wanted
Red's
to see
pedigree,
the most.
We can trust most other aspects to be well handled in all likelihood.
They have such a strong, and like The Witcher 3 lifespan of that game, and their like continued dedication to DRM free PC gaming. I'm excited and I trust them. I think they've definitely got a ball to drop. Zaria, what is your top 5?
All right.
From in ascending order, so start from
ascending order. I didn't actually rank them. Let me do that on the spot. Okay.
Then I guess Dying Light 2. Since I haven't played the first one, so I don't think it'd be right to put it at.
You guys should get that co-op. I bet you could pick it up pretty cheap.
Yes.
Oh, it's Dying Light co-op.
It's got up to 4 players. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You play through the whole story. It's like Borderlands.
That's cool.
In fact, it's just like Borderlands.
That's cool. Yeah, maybe
we'll do that as soon as we move in. Then.
Yeah.
Okay. Then Assassin's Creed. I think. Definitely looks fun. I kind of want to play Origins 2 first, but whatever. We'll see if I have time for that.
Yeah.
Sable. Such a. It's aesthetically perfect. There's no reason not to put there. Cyberpunk, just because I like Cyberpunk, and Sekiro, of course. That one was like the most obvious top of the list for me. There we go. Pretty normal.
I'm gonna go top to bottom on this one.
Okay.
We'll do Sekiro because FromSoft is my master.
So this is your number one pick, yeah?
Bitch. This is my number one, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And then
I think you're someone else's bitch.
Hey, Sable is number 2 because I very much love audiovisual stuff, and if that is all that game is, I will be happy. And then I think number 3 is Tunic. Game looks really well made, iconic, innovative. That it's a good game. Number 4 is Smash Ultimate. just on the basis that like I'm gonna get to play with Zarya and she's really into Smash, and that's gonna be really cool and fun and good. And then number 5 is probably Pokemon, even though it's gonna be like the worst like conventional Pokemon RPG game in a while because it's like very casualized and stripped down and stuff. Like, I'm just such a fucking slut for Pokemon. I want it, and it will be one of my favorite games.
The art style is gorgeous. I love it.
Yeah. Honorable mention to Cyberpunk 2077 because that does look very promising. There's just a promise that is too vague at this point to really.
There's been a lot more details today than there were.
Yeah, decide my feelings on one way or the other, especially without having played The Witcher 3, and so without having that like ingrained experiential faith in CD Projekt Red.
I was literally sold on it by when they said it's vertical based and not horizontal. I immediately was like, never mind, shooting up my list.
I think open world doesn't do a ton for me. Yeah, but yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Cool.
2 indie games, 2 Nintendo games, and then the new Dark Souls game.
I think for me, number 5 would be the Command and Conquer mobile game. Yeah, no joke. I'm really kind of desperate for a Hearthstone kind of time sync mobile thing that I can play like a few matches of before bed. It looks very much in the line of Clash Royale, which is a game that could have been something amazing if it wasn't for extremely predatory microtransaction models. It looks like an improved Clash Royale style game with more depth, which is really good.
Very much looked like something that would be my speed, and in spite of the pretty contentious reception it met, I'm sure I will enjoy it if I...
No, that honestly, that might be the game that I would rush to play on my list the fastest, especially because it's free to play and I don't have much disposable income. My number 4 game is 2 Point Hospital. I have so much nostalgia for Theme Hospital, and I've just been really kind of starved for those kind of...
That's like the hospital management game, right? Like
it is,
they revealed in the PC Gamer Show. One interesting little thing about that is, like, you know, the dev came up and he was talking, you're trying to build up your hospital, make money, blah, blah, blah. It's, like, very, like, interesting to me that a core mechanic of this hospital management game is making money. Like, just a political like, it's not issues. It's not like a discourse thing.
Those games are very satirical. And this game is definitely... It's not going
to be an issue, but it just struck me as very interesting. Like, oh, okay, like, try and maximize your profits off of healthcare. Like, oh.
There's an interesting game called Big Pharma, which is like that, which is all about production lines and making pills and stuff. And it's all about like acceptable amounts of side effects and shit, like maximizing your profits, unethical sales methods and stuff. It's good. My number 3 is DMC5. I am very sad that it's not another Ninja Theory DMC. I adored that game. Truly, truly adored it. But I do kind of understand why diehard Devil May Cry fans didn't dig it. I must admit, I'm really glad it is focusing on Nero. I would say after DMC, my favourite Devil May Cry title was 4. And it's definitely one of the mainline series game that I have the most nostalgia for. So this game really focusing on Nero, it being set in London. That trailer music is just like perfection. I love the sidekick, just really cheesy. Like she's like, like she's got the cigarette in her mouth while the van's upside down. Like it's so perfectly tonally on point for that series. And it does seem like they're kind of bringing that kind of like fuck you kind of style of that I really fell in love with in the Ninja Theory DMC. So that's a definite buy from me. My number 2 is Cyberpunk. I think Cyberpunk had the strongest trailer at the show.
What about The Last of Us?
Last of Us would be my second. No, it would be my third.
The lesbian.
I think the DMC
make out the rug.
I know.
It's the best trailer.
It's fine.
Ever.
I think Cyberpunk just like, because all it was like, I know DMC, right? I know The Last of Us. I'm very established, very invested in these franchises already, and Cyberpunk got me to that level of excitement and maybe more off a single launch trailer, purely on the back of their style and their world and their aesthetic and I just thought it was a really strong mission statement. That was how I saw the Cyberpunk trailer. So I just can't wait to see more of that game. And I have faith in those developers to deliver. And my number 1 game from E3 was The Last of Us. A really, really strong trailer. The gameplay, I saw a lot of people saying that gameplay looked really scripted. I don't think it necessarily is. I think what happened is, I think The Last of Us is the kind of game, Naughty Dog polishes their games to such a ridiculous degree that I think you could probably recreate every scene in that trailer if you just play that combat encounter just right.
Every given manner in which an encounter plays out feels as if it is scripted, just because the sort of design is so careful and meticulous.
And the animation is
the animation's really good.
Well.
Contextual animations is a fancy buzzword.
I actually think that that might be the talking point of The Last of Us 2, is just how crazy good those animations are. Like, I don't think it's Naughty Dog's style to sell something that they can't deliver.
No, you're right on that.
And they really had a genuine focus on that whole encounter. Like, that wasn't just like, it wasn't the first Last of Us 2 trailer where it was just like, here's some violence, right? It was very contextualized in-game stuff. It looked and felt like there was a moment where the stealth system from the first game kicked in, where it's like a vroom, kind of like tinnitus-y kind of like ear. It reminds me of like how your heartbeat can sound in your ears. I think that's what they're going for. A moment where she's hiding behind like a stall or a stand or something. I think they can deliver on that. I truly do. I don't think that is... I think it was definitely optimized for the conference. I think it was basically played out in as cinematic a way as you could. But it would not surprise me if you could go into that game and basically recreate something very similar to it, if you take the route perfectly. So, I would be kind of disappointed if they didn't deliver on that end. But again, Naughty Dog has a really, really, really strong pedigree and track record. I think, obviously, over the last year they've had some allegations and problems to that regard.
Yeah.
Which definitely does play in the back of my mind with this stuff. In a way, it was one of those cases where Last of Us was either not going to be on my list at all for that reason, or at the top of it. But, I think company policy and stuff aside, I think there's a lot of really passionate people working at that studio whose work should be talked about, even if we are very critical of the company they work for. But yeah, I think The Last of Us 2 just looks really good.
Definitely. One other thing that I didn't get to is this tweet. Sakurai says he has seen some bugs during the Smash tournament, and will take a midnight flight to work tomorrow. Please, Sakurai, don't work yourself too hard.
Yeah.
Wow, that does it. E3 2018 in the bag. I honestly, consumerism, cynicism aside, I think E3 is one of my most. I just think it's fun. I think it's a
lot
really
of fun. Yeah, usually.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this year, unlike last year, was good.
I don't know. Last year was such a strong year for games.
Last year was a great year for games. I don't think it was a good year for E3. Like sure. Nintendo did good at last year's E3, but like everyone else like
was a really good.
Sony in 2017 for E3 was like their presentation 2017 was bad.
A bunch of the great 2017 stuff was shown off in the 2016 E3.
Yeah. Oh, 2016 was excellent. 2017 was like.
2017, wasn't 2017 the year that so many E3 cringe compilation videos were made for?
Yeah, and like Sony
I feel
had
like there really
nothing.
wasn't much this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, that's
we have taken enough of your time at this point. I believe viewers
We've taken enough of our time at this point.
This is. I think this is going to end up being the longest video.
No, it definitely will be
on the channel, or if you listen audio. I did actually check out our audio numbers recently, and we're doing pretty good.
Our what numbers?
YouTube is definitely audio numbers.
Cool.
I think the feed needs updating though.
Oh, I don't know how to do
that. But yeah, no, YouTube definitely is our biggest platform. But okay, we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, thank you for tuning in. See you next year.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, see you next E3. No podcast until E3 next year. Side commitment. It's to thank E3 for being good this year. No, we'll see you next week, guys, for the regular scheduled content.
We'll see you in a few days for the podcast.
In a few days.
Saturday.
Yeah, we'll see you in less for Comic Girls.
Yeah. Oh my god, there's 2 uploads a week.
So much content. Can't even keep track of it all.
It is a lot of content. We're gonna hit our milestones really quickly on this channel.
Oh, we already have the monetization 4,000 hours thing, I'm sure.
We need more subs to get the
monetization. 2,000, I think.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, we'll bounce. See you guys.
Yep.
Bye. See ya.